Cultex system in the rear. Um, that's kind of just an overview of the project itself. Um, I could jump into premise for, I think there was a question about could the could the location of the house be slightly adjusted to not be as close to the rock outcrop that's shown on the site development plan?
Yes, if you could address that, that'd
Yeah.
be great.
So that rock outcrop actually goes north and south within that property. It actually there's a little bit of it that comes out towards the back of the existing what came out towards the back of the existing dwelling. I think it was just underneath the house and underneath a little like a very shallow layer of dirt. Um, the intention with where it was situated was the garage of the place that, the portion of the house that's touching the rock outcrop doesn't have a basement, so it's a slab on grade, so it would need less of a the depth of the foundation there would be lesser than the main dwelling. Um, Based on the elevations, I look at it, it's about 4 feet in terms of how high the garage is to the corner of that outcrop, the bottom of the slab. So there's a little potential of needed to kind of take some of that out. I think as we move the house back, we could probably move the garage corner. So we're looking at the plan, the eastern corner of the garage. Um, okay, if we move it down about 5 or 6 feet, at least that that significant hit of the rock outcrop could probably be a little bit more avoidable. Um, and we'd be kind of willing to make that adjustment.
So bringing the whole residence
Correct.
about
Yeah,
60 to 72 inches south can get you a little bit more off the rock.
correct.
Okay. What's the
Yeah.
impinging actually beyond, say, 72 inches? Is there an issue with the setbacks or um, just getting it
Well,
off the street?
yeah, again, the rock outcrop really continues, so it's we'll call it the elevation that is there is about 42 to 43 in terms of what that elevation is. If you could zoom into that corner. As we move it back, the rock doesn't really go below, I'd call it 39 or 38 feet. So
Mhm.
we don't improve like after that first 60 to 72 inches, there's not another improvement of the rock being lower than the next portion until the backside of the house.
Okay. So it's all very shallow ledge. So no matter what, you're going to be taking out a good amount of to get the foundation in.
Yeah, if there's, I
Okay.
mean, if that's significant there, I mean, we could make some adjustments. I think there'll be a cost implication too of like how impactful that rock is to the once the house is staked.
Okay.
We could add some more crawl space to that side of the house if we get to a point where, I don't think the intention is not to blast like in that corner to get rock out.
Okay. The drainage there, you're gonna have to blast for the drainage as well.
No, so there's enough height in the driveway and then in the back of the house to incorporate all of the drainage that we have proposed.
Very good. Okay. Members, any questions?
Mr. Lowe and I have our hands up. Mr. Lowe is first.
Okay.
So uh, our chairperson wondered about moving the garage to the other side, whether that was a possibility, sort of flipping the design. And I also was curious whether, given the constraints associated with the topography and the shape of the lot, whether you had considered any kind of redesign of the proposed structure.
Yeah, the garage is acting a little bit as like a retention of that rock outcrop to allow the lower level to be flat. I think given the constraints of the access way to the property, we have only 50 feet of frontage before it borders other kind of properties. And where that kind of drive comes in, if we had the garage mirrored to the west side of the property, you'd have to come either directly into it very quickly, and then it'd be very hard to get around that structure into, a parking area that's off the street. We are trying to maintain, with this grade plane wall, we have just about 10 to 12 feet of space to be able to get a piece of machinery into the backyard for, maintenance if anything kind of, God forbid happens like in the back. But so there's not as much wiggle room to move the house east-west. And then again, that rock outcrop, trying to kind of create a little bit of a feature. It's already a hurdle on the site. So having the garage kind of on the other side would kind of create this more monolithic kind of courtyard feel to it, like a sunken feel
You're
to the front of the house.
you're trying to take advantage of not needing a lower level on the garage. So
Correct.
it's sitting
Yeah.
on or within a minimum amount of rock, I guess is what's going on.
Yeah, and that's why we're coming up with the driveway to get to a certain elevation that it's raised. We don't want, like, the intention is not to put the garage into the basement level. But yeah, to have that there, then it would cause maybe some more constraints on the west side.
Good, thank you.
Madam Jenkins?
Yes, I don't know if you heard the briefing yesterday. The Conservation Commission mentioned that the trees on the property have already been removed. And we don't have a regulation that currently prevents that from happening, but certainly to the extent that it would be possible to address that in the course of review by the commission, rather than be dealing with a situation where the trees have already been removed. I guess this is a future note in terms of, to the extent that existing trees on the property can remain until the commission's had the opportunity. We can't require it. We don't have a regulation to that effect yet, although we're examining Norwalk as a model for that. Again, to the extent that tree removal can just be held off until there's been an opportunity by the commission to review it in the future. So just a word of advice, and certainly not a regulatory comment on this application. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would welcome that, because I've seen it across town when trees that weren't impactful to the development have gotten removed. And I think there's a concession that the applicant is willing to plant additional trees to make up for the ones that came down.
And that's appreciated, certainly. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Turn to public comment. Is anybody in the public who would like to comment on this application? Please raise your hand.
I don't see anyone, Mr. Secretary.
Either do I. Okay. Anything else on this, members? If not, can we close this application?
Yes.
Okay, great. So this application is closed, and I guess we need a motion on this. Okay, let's get my notes out here. Okay, this is 9 Brook Drive, Final Coastal Site Plan, PLPZ 2026-078. Applicant seeking approval to demolish the existing single-family residence and construct a new single-family home with associated driveway drainage improvements and related site work on a 31,000 square foot lot located in the R20 and COC zones per section 6-111 of the BZR and sections 22A90 and 22A96 of the Connecticut General Statutes, whereas the property is not within a flood zone. Conservation issue comments on 422-26 indicating comments to the proposal. Zoning issue comments dated 423-26 indicating a summary of the project. The sewer division issue comments dated 422-26 requesting the applicant submit a signed letter of acknowledging receipt of their P&Z comments. Department of Public Works drainage, the engineer applicant submitted a drainage exemption dated 1/3/26, and Wetlands issued a permit needs questionnaire dated 1/6/26, indicating no action required. Therefore, a motion to approve the application for final coastal site plan with the following conditions. Per Sewer Division comment, the applicant has submitted a letter dated 4/24/26 acknowledging comment, and the applicant shall endeavor to shift the building construction 60 to 72 inches south on the property. And the applicant shall address any and all remaining staff or environmental issues. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Wells.
Got it. Okay, Mr. Wells, and vote, please. Mr. Yeski. Yes.
I'm sorry, Nick, just a couple of things. We had EMAC comments. Did I hear that?
No, I don't believe we had that.
Okay, EMAC 3/2/26.
Okay.
Addressing that basically the building requirements are met, but nothing particular in addition. And conservation?
Yes.
Okay, 4/22. Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, Mr. Yeski, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Jenkins?
Aye.
Mr. Wells?
Aye.
Mr. Lowe?
Aye.
Mr. McRae is aye, so a motion passed. Thank you, Mr. Swire.
All right, thank you. Have a great night.
You too. Okay, next application is 1 East Weaver Street. Mr. Laura, who's representing?
Mr. Tessie is, and I believe Mr. Ferrari will also be in.
Okay.
John, we could see you. You just need to adjust your camera a little lower.
Oh, here I go, or I can adjust myself over. No, that's worse. Okay,
Just move the
Oh, my God, I
move the
can't figure
rum
out.
up a little bit. There you go.
there you go. I can put a hat on if there's too much of a gleam there.
Okay, are we all here? Would you like to bring Mr. Ferrari to the room or just,
Mr. Ferrari and Mr. Molnar are here. I think Kevin is.
okay?
It's up to him if he wants to be.
Mr. McRae, do you mind just announcing the application?
Yeah, this is 1 East Weaver Street, site plan. Final site plan, conversion of existing office to residential. Okay, Mr. Tessie, before you get started, undoubtedly you heard the
Sure.
briefing yesterday.
Yes, I did.
We had talked about actually possibly converting this to a preliminary and filing it as a special permit. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, first in the special permit, I think there was a bit of a misreading of the regulations. So I'll take the responsibility for that. We'll file a special permit application, send a notice out to the neighbors tomorrow. We are reasonably confident, although you never know, that we'll have the will serve letter by the end of May. Mr. Molnar is working with our engineer. We have flow calculations in already. So we think we'll be in good shape with the extensions granted. And I believe Patrick pointed out we could get this into July. So I think rather than convert, we'd like to leave it open, file for a special permit. And I think we can get this hopefully wrapped up second meeting in May or the first meeting in June.
Okay.
I can go through your list of your other items.
Mhm.
No particular order.
Okay, well, let's see, we've got,
Unless you want to do it by a certain order.
quickly, we can do it. Zoning looked pretty good. They had questions about parking, but that's been resolved. Engineering division was looking for easements prior to zoning permit.
The easements through the property.
Yeah, they were deeds and easements prior to
Yeah, that's
zoning
fine.
permit.
The only easement to town of Greenwich easement.
Mhm.
For the shoreline.
Okay,
And it,
Uh,
which by the way, the town actually is doing some work on
mhm.
right now. I can talk a bit about that whole issue. We can talk about the sewer department comments. We don't see any reason we're not going to be in compliance, and we'll be working with Mr. Feminella. The work that was discussed having to do with actually it all started, believe it or not, with 500 West Putnam when we were proposing the project. You may know, some of you may remember, residential project, and then it was carried over when we did 581, 585. That is the issue of the reduction in the diameter of the sewer main on the transit station property. And of course, the estimates were a lot more than we thought, but right now all the engineering's been done and pricing, certainly Kevin and John can weigh in, but the pricing has all been worked out, and it's about pulling the trigger, which would be this summer. So we're in comportment with his comments, and I expected them that he would want that line, to be consistent in diameter. I think it's 16 inches or 18 inches.
Okay, great.
So,
Looks like conservation had no comment because you're really not digging. Everything's in interior of the building.
right, it's interior of the building. There is, has been, as you pointed out, one meeting with the Architecture Review Committee. Mr. Molnar was in attendance. The issues for the committee were really to look at the change in the elevations, because there were going to be what I call punched in balconies, which were going to reduce floor area. As you can see in the staff report, where the building is legally non-conforming, built under the old BG zone regulations before 76. So we're taking some of that floor area that we're reducing and bringing it down to the first level of parking deck, where, as you discussed yesterday, there are some amenity spaces. Because the amenity spaces would count against your FAR. Everything that wouldn't count are storage, access, and parking spaces. So that trade-off still puts us a little bit less non-conforming in the floor area. So that's why we were before the ARC. Mr. Molnar does have a landscape plan. We are going to be reducing parking spaces, I think about 20 of them that are exterior, so you're going to have more green space, more outdoor living area for the residents in this building.
Okay,
So
I would say
we'll be back.
returning to ARC as you've hit the highlights. The better as you're getting close more to design, development, construction documents. Don't forget to include any of the lighting just in case, and the landscape plan as well, please.
We're going to be presenting, as Kevin is, in the mid-March meeting of the ARC committee. We're trying to hopefully set ourselves up for a productive meeting with you at the end of May, but we know that we want to see that well-served letter and that it passes muster with the fire marshal. We understood the comments and we appreciate them regarding the fire marshal comment. I believe they may have had some communication already. So we're pretty much on that. So we're working on that. Great. Regarding the traffic comments from Beta and traffic division of DPW, we had already last week, having read those comments, reached out to John Canning, traffic engineer, and he's going to provide basically the traffic impact statements and also a narrative, that we will be able to share next. I believe that'll be done by the end of this week. So next week we'll be sharing that with staff.
Fire department had some issues. I think we were just probably looking at. He had some issues prior to, I guess, a building permit approval. But I would recommend maybe going back to just discussing with him based on your water demand and understanding converting from office to residential is going to be a different story.
Yeah, that's why we had the flow. There were measurements being done, and again, the well-served letter is needed for that too.
Okay, and I think actually EMAC EMAC has some issues. I guess it's a good understanding that you're going from, I would think as a benign office space to residential. Maybe you do have an opportunity to upgrade some of the
Yeah, the systems are all going
HVAC
to be-
apartments. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, they're all going to
Um,
be adjusted. Kevin.
And as actually on the landscape plan, site plan, if you can take a look at your trash area outside, make sure that it's actually dedicated.
Yeah, we saw
and
that
enclosed
comment,
correctly.
bicycle racks, and the idea is to make it very aesthetically, pleasing for the residents. There's some nice walking areas around there. Also, it's right near Office
Okay.
Park too. So we're aware of that. And John, Mr. Ferreri's goal and Kevin's to upgrade the aesthetics of the area, and it's nice to be able to be working with a property that has some decent, open
Very good.
space.
Okay. Right.
for the
Before we get
residents.
into the rest of the members, Mr. LaRoe, do you have something?
Thank you, Mr. Macri. Mr. Tessie, did Mr. Canning give an indication of whether or not this needs to go to OSTA or not?
I asked that question. I was about to get to that. Kevin and I talked about it. He was reaching out to John to get that answer. It's kind of hard. For
It's
me
a
to
weird.
read,
It's well,
but-
the blanket statement for most is 200 parking spaces, but it's existing, so I didn't know.
But they're existing, yeah. So I'm not.
Okay.
So yes, John
Thank
is
you.
going to adjust that, and hopefully we'll be able to adjust it in the letter and
Okay,
an easy
thank you.
answer. I'll call it a
Well, I mean,
logical answer.
you don't want to find out when you try to get a route.
No, that's fine. We don't have any problem. We would like to get as much out of, clear as much as we possibly can early. Mr. Ferrer, we'd like to try to hit for change the ground running, so to speak, and, and getting this building fully converted. There are some office tenants remaining, and I believe their leases are all up this year, but, it takes a little while to get a building permit.
Okay, great. Who is first, or should I just, Mr. Lowe?
I think
Yeah.
Ms. Jenkins, go ahead.
I don't mean to be first every time, but I was more concerned actually, not so much about the parking situation, because obviously you're fully parked, and I appreciate the fact that the surface parking is going to turn into something greener. But I think the traffic impact report, we need to be aware of the fact that a statement is fine, but if in fact there's going to be greater traffic impact, there's going to be obviously a need for report, not merely a statement.
You have the traffic. Oh, go ahead.
No, please, Mr. Tessie.
No,
go ahead.
we're filing the traffic. I think that's what ordinarily happens.
Okay.
First step historically is
Right.
he's going to do a narrative statement. I'll fall off my chair if it's more traffic, but I've been wrong before.
Okay, I understand that most traffic statements usually say it's had a minimal impact, and we understand that, but.
Well, they do, but they do the counts. They'll do the
Okay,
counts.
yeah, and then
For the
and the
users.
timing and the days and times of the accounts, as you well know, is important. I'm a little unclear on the sewer thing. The issue was raised
Okay.
with 581, 585. Is that going to be solved in connection with that application before this? Or,
No, this is going to be ahead. That building hasn't even started yet.
Okay.
So this building will be the first after that work is done, because Mr. Feminella, said, we want that all done before we're going to, sign off on this, on any occupancy permit. So we understand. We know we have
so
to
you
get it.
anticipate the issue in terms of this application is going to disappear because it's going to be solved with respect to the prior application then? Is that in my understanding?
In other words, after this work is done, that there's nothing, that condition is satisfied under 581.
Okay, great.
585.
Thank you.
Mr. Lowe?
Yeah. We had a discussion yesterday about and the comments about how the proposed conversion, this is having to do with EMAC again, and maybe you said something and I just missed it, but how it only, maybe you could comment further on any upgrades that move beyond what are considered or as marginal improvements. And Did you, are you all thinking about that, or are you not?
Well, let me,
Those weren't my words.
I can't tell. Is Kevin Molnar in, listening in?
He is.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
You see Pat? Well, oh, there you're
Yes, I
here.
am.
Okay, Kevin would be the man to answer that with credibility as opposed to me.
So, Mr. Lowe, when we convert this building, part of that conversion is going to be the replacement of all building systems. Currently, there are a number of old abandoned rooftop units which are no longer in service. There are also rooftop units that are in service that are not energy efficient by today's standards, and those will be removed. New systems will be brought into the building for heating and cooling. The exterior envelope, the existing glazing, which is inefficient by today's standards, that will be removed, and new glazing will be provided, which will be more energy efficient. The exterior wall, which has insulating properties, which were appropriate at the time in the 80s for a commercial office building, those will all be opened up, and new insulation will be installed for the new use, complying with today's standards.
Okay, so I don't have it actually right in front of me, but the language used referred to as marginal improvements. That's not my language, and I just wondered whether you had, since those comments came in from EMAC, whether you had any thoughts about making some adjustments to upgrade further. I recognize you've just provided us with a litany of what you're going to do and tear out the old and non-existing or non-working systems in some cases. But are there any more, I guess, my word, more dramatic improvements that might help, deliver savings to the residents or be of some service to the town in terms of being more energy efficient?
The building is going to have a whole new exterior envelope at the end of the day, so it's going to consume less energy than it currently would be consuming. All your plumbing fixtures are going to be new low flow devices, so it's not going to consume as much water as it does today. So there's going to be a lot of improvements that are made. We're obviously very early in the development here, so there will be more that comes to fruition as the property moves forward.
Okay, I guess we would ask you to be especially sensitive as you move through this process to suggestions that might be made about how you can make even more improvements.
Yes.
Mr. Molnar, quick question.
Yeah.
In terms of the exterior envelope, in terms of the upgrades that you're doing to it, we would be actually seeing a good portion of the facade being removed and replaced. I mean, almost to the extent that someday we'd actually see just the steel frame,
No,
or is it just bits and pieces of it?
no, bits and pieces. The existing stone that's on the building, that stone cladding is going to remain.
Okay,
The glazing system, the curtain wall that's there today is what's largely being replaced.
very good. Okay, thank you. Mr. Lowe?
Yeah, just and one more thing. If Mr. Tessie, you were listening yesterday, there was a comment about the absence of any market rate units and a suggestion to try to satisfy the POCD objective 2.1 and provide options for affordable housing. Could you comment on that, please?
Well, the simple answer is that we have I'm sorry, Madam Chairman is under the weather, but she pointed out we do have a good mix in terms of diversity of units in the building. Mostly 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and a few 3 bedroom. I think the idea of John's here, may want to say more, but it's not an inexpensive proposition to convert these buildings. And the economics drive at all. We've already talked about in the past with you the difficulty, the overall difficulty in leasing, particularly in the west side of town. And as you know, we have, you may recall, right, we still have what we call Building 8 on Valley Drive that we want to come back to you with, because the interim here really well, it's marketed as an office building. There's just nothing happening on it. And that's going to be a conversion. And so that one we were proposing, just to preview it, we were previously proposing conversion of the garage level, the upper garage level, because it's essentially above grade. And that gets us over the FAR. There were some other additions we were making. We're coming back with that, and I'll be proposing something with respect to 6110, some modifications tailored toward the conversions of office buildings. Maybe it's as isolated as a CGB zone, CGB, I'm out. GBO zone. I previewed it with Mr. Leroux. He hasn't commented, but suggested I just move forward and there'll be a discussion.
I would say, Mr.
But in this building, we've talked to, I certainly spoke to Mr. Ferrari about that comment, Mr. Lowe, and he's just not in a position to incorporate below market units into the building.
Oh.
It's driven by the economics, quite frankly.
Right, so
Mr.
the economics are challenging here. I mean, setting aside what's going on in Building 8, there's no opportunity here to provide in this building affordable housing.
Well, if the first level were above grade, then we would have that issue, right? But it's not above grade, so can't be people in a dungeon. We have a whole level of parking that could have been converted, but it's just too low.
Okay, Mr. Lowe, you're good?
I don't know whether good. I'm done with my questions
Okay.
on that. Thank you.
I didn't think you were going to be overwhelmed by that answer, but it's
Well, it was interesting to be
honest answer.
reminded of Building 8, but that wasn't really what I was asking here, so that's fine.
no, I'm just saying you're going to have the opportunity on that one.
Very good. Mr. Gasky?
Yeah, Mr. Tessie, I'm sure you heard, we were trying to give you a heads up yesterday about the fire department. They seem to have changed their policies.
Yes, I relayed that to Mr. Molnar.
Well, it isn't just the water,
Ferrari.
by the way. The bigger nail that hurt Central Middle was their requirement on a lot more sophisticated fire alarms and the wiring and everything. So that
Right.
actually ended up being more expensive than the fire pumps, but I wanted to give you a heads
I
up on
mentioned
it.
that. No, thank you. It looks like they're feeling pretty good with the flows they've seen that their engineers monitored.
You're talking about the water flows or the sewer flows?
Water
Yeah.
flows. The water
Well,
flows.
we'll see. And maybe it's the size of the building too. I think it gets into how many units, that sort
Okay.
of thing. So, but you got to go talk to them. But I was
All
wondering,
right, they're working with their engineer and they have to talk to the fire marshal. They know that. But thank you.
okay, well, you're
did
welcome.
bring that
Could you
up.
help us out
Appreciate
a
the
little
heads
bit?
up.
It sounds like you're gradually converting this office complex into residential. And I don't know whether you can make a comment there, but you mentioned the 6110, you're not going to use that. Now it's all, I assume, rental. We've seen some interesting trend. I think we're in a transition in the market. I don't know whether you want to talk about this or Mr. Ferrari, but people are moving away from rentals into condos. I know construction costs have raised quite a bit, but so have the rentals and so have the sales. So I don't know whether you can give us a state. Are you going to try to move this whole complex to residential, rental, or sale?
Actually,
What's that?
it's a very good question. I can tell you this building is not part of the building we're talking about today, 1 East Weaver Street, is not part of Office Park. It's adjacent to it, but not part.
Okay, it's along Weaver Street right there. It's separate.
No, it's on Weaver Street, yeah. Building 8 is, we'll go Building 8. It's at the Valley Road. Again, it's actually isolated from Office Park. It's not so isolated, they actually share some access, but it's on the periphery. And
Is this long-term capital's building? Remember long-term capital?
Long-term, I haven't heard long-term capital mentioned in a
No.
long time.
This was,
I don't think they're there anymore,
wasn't
but
this
John can answer
Osprey?
that.
Osprey was in this building for you.
Osprey was in there. They call it the Osprey House.
Okay.
Sorry, it was the Osprey House. Yes, very good.
Okay.
But
Jim Macri, right. So just to answer, but right now, there isn't the intention. There's actually room on, there's actually, believe it or not, under the regulations, we have about, I think it's the ballpark, 100,000 square feet as of right available on the central office park. And we've identified a few areas there where new residential buildings could be built, but we're dealing with the present at the time. But I think at some time in the future, you'll see residential components on that campus.
all rental or any condo?
A lot of it depends upon the market.
Right.
It's all,
That's what I'm trying to get. I'm trying to,
He's-
you guys
he's
are
in-
one of the more active developers, and I'd love to get whatever you're willing to share with us.
well, I tell people all the time, John has one job, real estate, and he has one hobby, real estate.
Okay.
Very good. Mr. Yeski, you all set?
Yeah, like Mr. Yeah, I'm done. I'm done.
Okay. Mr. Tessie, I think we'll move to public comment if
Sure.
there's any. Mr. Laurel, you see anybody?
Mr. Ferrari actually had his hand up. I don't know if that was in response to Mr. Yeski's comment.
I hope so. I hope so.
I don't know. Mr. Ferrari, if you'd like to speak, we could promote you.
Yes, no?
Ah, there he is.
Okay.
Just unmute, sir, please. Good evening. How are you?
All right. Thank you very much. Good evening or good afternoon. To answer your question about rentals in the market, there's a trend towards people holding off on buying, and so rentals are stronger in a lot of regard. We have J Lofts, and it's been a very strong market. I also think there's a strong market for condos. And that's what this project will be geared to people who live in Greenwich that currently have a big home, want to scale down, kids are out of the house, and I think this would be a perfect example of that. And so that's really the market we're heading in. There may be some rentals, we may convert some of them to rentals, but we'd like to really go after the market of people who want to scale down. So,
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Ferrari, for Office Park, do you have a long-term plan, or is this just more kind of a market-driven issue?
it's a market-driven issue, but I like to see Greenwich Office Park become more of a mixed-use park, and I think it's good for the neighborhood. It's good for the area. The office market is there, but it's not that strong. So I think by putting some residential units in there, it makes for a better environment.
Oh, very good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Members, any other questions for Mr. Ferrari before we move on? Okay, any other members of the public? Okay, so Mr. Tessie, you're going to give a special permit and then get off to run through the laundry list of things?
Yeah, we'll provide a special
Okay.
permit, work with staff on what extensions are needed, and hopefully we'll see you in about a month.
Oh, great. I would suggest actually, Mr. Molnar and the design team get back to ARC, when they can as well.
Well, they're targeting the middle of May.
Very good. Okay.
Nick, a quick question
Yes.
for Mr. Ferrari. I'm curious, what is the correct pronunciation of your last name? Because we're hearing multiple versions of it, and I think it's important to get someone's name correct.
It's Ferrari. Thank you very much.
That's what I thought. Okay. So you're not named after an automobile.
No, I wish my family was in it, but
yeah,
they're not.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, great. We good to go? Should we move on?
Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next item is 14 Eggleston, I believe.
Yes.
Yes, and who is representing tonight?
Mrs. Feinberg. Ms. Feinberg, excuse me.
Good evening, Ms. Feinberg. How are you?
I'm well. You all are too.
So far, so good. Is there anybody else that you'd like to promote?
For now, I think I maybe just Madison Smith, my colleague at Carmody.
Okay.
We'll see how things go.
Ms. Feinberg, do you have a presentation? Would you like?
I do.
And are you going to run it, or is Ms. Smith?
Madison's going to run it if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay, excellent. Should I get started?
Yes, please.
Okay. For the record, my name is Lisa Feinberg. I'm a partner at Carmody, Torrance, Sandak, and Hennessy. With me today is my colleague, Madison Smith. We also have Brian Muller from Muller Engineering, Dan Scharf from Sheridan Designs, Matthew Pop from Environmental Land Solutions, and I believe Kevin Coyle from Coyle Homes. We're all here on behalf of the applicant and owner of the subject property, Eggleston Holdings, LLC. Madison, will you bring up the presentation? Thanks. Next slide. Thanks. So as you know, the property is known as 14 Eggleston Lane. It's part of the Shorelands neighborhood of Old Greenwich, a residential community that dates back to the early 1900s. So on the left side of the screen, you can see the original neighborhood layout from 1909. And then the right side of the screen is an aerial taken sometime in 1934. Next slide. And this is the neighborhood today with 14 Eggleston outlined in yellow. As you can see, the neighborhood is generally fully developed, although many original homes have been demolished and redeveloped over the years. Although originally located in the R7 zone, today the property is in the R12 zone, also the coastal overlay zone and the flood hazard overlay zone. Next slide, please. At roughly 0.2 acres, just over 9,000 square feet. It is legally non-conforming and a vacant lot. Next slide. So we received a number of letters, as I'm sure you all saw, from neighbors questioning the size of the lot and the proposed home. So we did a bit of research to better understand existing conditions. This exhibit was created based on the tax assessor's records. The red shaded lots are legally non-conforming as to lot size, and the stars indicate homes that are also non-conforming as to FAR. So as you can see, the legally non-conforming undersized nature of this lot at 14 Eggleston is not unique. It's not a unique characteristic in this neighborhood. Next slide, please. So the current proposal relates to the construction of a conforming 2,862 square foot single family home with related site improvements. This is a rendered view of the home, including the proposed landscaping. As confirmed at your briefing, this proposal has received a positive endorsement from zoning enforcement, conservation, EMAC, and DPW engineering. Based on the questions from neighbors, in addition to the certification from the applicant's engineer, Muller Engineering, and endorsement from DPW Engineering, the applicant also provided a letter from a third engineer, Civil Solutions, again confirming that the proposed development plan meets or exceeds the Greenwich Stormwater Management System requirements. Also of note, DEEP and Conservation agreed that the proposed stormwater management plan would be an improvement over existing conditions. All of these details related to the stormwater management plan have been included in the record. I know you all received them, so I was not planning to go through the plan in detail, but if you would like me to, please let me know. So based on the discussion at the briefing, it sounded like most of the remaining questions relate to comments we received from DEEP. Specifically, DEEP noted the lack of dry access and said that the commission should consider whether allowing a 5-bedroom residence in the flood hazard zone constitutes a significant increase in hazards to life and property, or if it only marginally adds to the exposure of life and property to flood hazards. And you all should do that in consideration of the developed nature of the surrounding area. So unlike many of the homes in the neighborhood, the proposed home will conform to all of the current flood zone requirements contained in section 6-139.1 of the Greenwich zoning regulations. So this will protect the property during large storms. The second part of the question relates to the people who live on the property. And I know the safety of these residents is paramount to everyone. While we cannot remove all risk associated with a large storm event, we believe that this plan has significantly minimized that risk. As you all noted, the flooding in Old Greenwich is well known and will not come as a surprise to anyone who lives in this home should it be approved. Moreover, with today's 24/7 media and technological advances, everyone is given significant notice of large storm events with ample opportunity to evacuate. The Town of Greenwich website also includes important information about these types of emergencies, including links to resources that supply information and alerts in emergency situations. All of this is to say that these homeowners will be equipped with the knowledge and resources to stay safe in a storm. DEEP asked you all to consider whether the proposal constitutes a significant risk or whether that risk is marginal under the circumstances that are applicable to the entire neighborhood, not just this property. And I believe the application falls squarely in that latter category. That's really all I had. I'm happy, like I said, to take you through the details of the proposal. I just wanted to be sensitive to your time.
Okay. Members, anybody?
Yeah, Ms. Feinberg, is this the only undeveloped lot in Shorelands at this point?
I can't say that for certain. I know there is a home just up the street that's currently under construction and has been for some time, but I don't know for sure if it's the only vacant lot.
Maybe we could go back to the aerial,
Sure.
particularly the one that had the non-conforming lots marked. These non-conforming lots, I had not focused on the fact you said that there was a transition from R7 to R12.
Yes.
Did I hear that properly? So
Yeah.
in a sense, it was down, the requirements were made more, in a sense, more restrictive, less restrictive. Of the lots that are non-conforming, how many of them were non-conforming to R7 and would conform to R12 now?
Of the lots that are non-conforming, how many of them were not? I believe they all conformed to R7.
I'm sure they all conformed at the time. I don't.
Right, but these no longer conform to the R12, the
Okay.
ones that are red.
Okay, good. And I think one of the questions was whether, no, I'm going to withhold that. You're distinguishing between the fact that the homeowner has an obligation to deal with storm management, stormwater management versus flooding. And your studies indicate that the stormwater management has been addressed?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, anybody else? Great. Shall we move to public comment?
I got one.
Yes,
sorry.
Mr. Wells.
Sorry to be slow. Ms. Feinberg, if you could just comment on, the lack of dry access vis-a-vis section 6-131-1 flood hazard overlay zone. And, in our regulations, the objectives, protect human life and health. And then just as importantly, that's objective B1, B3, minimize the need for rescue and relief efforts associated with flooding, which are generally undertaken at the expense of the general public. Now, maybe as you'll recall under Sandy, we had 2 houses in Old Greenwich burned down. I think there was a gas main that blew there, and the fire trucks couldn't get in because of the flooding. Now, how do we, and obviously you can't deal with every situation, but I continue to remain concerned about the lack of access. Someone has a heart attack, there's a flood, I guess, is it their problem? And what's the obligation of the town to try and get an ambulance in there in a situation where, that was my first house. I lived in Shorelands, very familiar with it. The roads are narrow, you've got speed bumps, you've also got fences in the streets, which slow things down. But it seems to be, even if there weren't a flood, a very difficult location to get emergency vehicles in there. But I just wonder how this sort of situation, how we tie this application into section 6-331, 133.1 in terms of objectives of, protecting human life and health, and also the expense of trying to help people if there's not just a storm event, but a coastal flooding event.
Sure. I've tried to address it. I think the objective is to minimize risk. I don't think that there's a scenario where, any of us can fully eliminate all risk. And, you're right. The roads are narrow. They were constructed that way. It's been that way since, the early 1900s. And I think the question before the commission is whether the construction of one single family home that conforms to both the zoning regulations and the flood zone requirements, is a significant increase to that risk, or whether it is, incremental. And I think it's the latter. I believe that all of the precautions that are taken with regard to the construction of the home certainly will protect the home itself, and that the resources available to folks in the community will alert anyone to a dangerous storm that's coming their way, so that they won't be there and emergency services won't have to go there in that sort of precarious situation. I guess the other thing I'd say is that if the owner of this property is not permitted to construct a conforming single-family home due to the lack of dry access, it would naturally follow that any neighboring property would also be prohibited from making any meaningful improvements, certainly improvements that would increase the capacity of the home. So, I don't believe that that is the purpose or the intent of the regulations or the legislation.
I guess everyone's got their own opinion. I guess I would disagree, because I think if you've got an existing house there and, you want to increase it, if you put a certain amount of money in, you're going to have to raise it, which is going to make it safer. In this case, there isn't a house there. So in a certain sense, if we approve this, we're approving putting a house in there. We're approving putting people in there who will be at more risk than someone living in an X area. Now you could say, well, that's their choice, but you also have to think about the children. They don't have any choice. They're going to be there. And if some of them have issues, there's just more risk. So I don't see us necessarily turning down, and we haven't, right less than a block away, as you noted, there's another large house going up. We approved it. I don't think it even came to the commission, because as you noted, it was within all the regulations, and they're raising it up. So I don't see our decision on this impacting the rest of shorelands. But you're the lawyer, and I'm not going to argue with you on that. I'm just going to give you my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Lowe?
Oh, just a quick comment. I mean, in support of Mr. Wells's evaluation here, to say for someone to suggest that, well, we can't eliminate all risk. Well, in a certain sense, you could, if you're not you personally or you, the client. I mean, if one were not to build here, that would eliminate any risk for a prospective person on that thing, on that piece of land. So I don't know. We have to kind of sort through this, and I understand what's good for the goose is good for the gander, and but it is something that is a concern to us in general, and more and more we're going to have to, as we're sort of shoehorning more people and creating greater density in areas that are at risk for flooding and the threat of stormwater effects. We're going to have to take probably a more thorough look at this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Jenkins?
Yes, and I think the other side, and obviously we have to consider both sides carefully, is that there already is significant development in this area. And it's not that this particular property is creating flooding, it's already flooding, and it's already flooding around it. And the question is, the part that a property owner can deal with obviously would be stormwater management. They can't deal with the fact that the tide rises and shorelands is low, and this happens to be the low point. So as Deep points out, it is up to the commission to determine the extent to which this is a significant increase. Obviously, the owners are going to be dealing with a significant increase, just as all of their neighbors do when there's tidal flooding and the tide rises or there's a hurricane. But in this case, to the extent that the area already floods and it's surrounded by areas already subject to flooding, I'm a little concerned that we don't apply a different level of concern for the residents of this property when all of the neighbors are subject to the same risk. And that's exactly why Deep says we have to consider whether it's substantial or marginal. There's not no risk. So is substantial or marginal both to the residents on this property and to the neighbors? And it's a tough question. There's no doubt about it. But I think we need to be concerned that we're not applying a tougher standard to perhaps the final vacant property in that area that's already subject to significant risk. Thank you. That's all I had.
Right. So that thought of marginal or significant, I think brief discussion of that. I think if it was something that was actually really changing the floodplain, the tidal floodplain, that would be significant. Industrial development, putting in a flood berm, something that actually would directly affect in either direction what was happening during a flood event. Marginal, like you said, everybody was talking about here is that the structure conforms to the flood zone regulations. It's elevated, it's got flood relief, and it's resolved its drainage. I think it's actually putting the responsibility to whoever lives in the area, in the neighborhood, to understand, yes, you're prone to flooding and you should be doing everything you can to be aware of that situation. Understanding, as we have just said, I think actually we can't control it. If Mother Nature wants to bring a storm in and flood things, she will do that, and all we can do is just get out of the way. Mr. LaRoche, should we move on to public comment?
Yes. Does the commission want to have? I know there's significant interest in this. So do we want to set up a timer, or are we gonna?
Let's have a timer.
How about
Yes,
2
It
minutes?
just gets out of control.
Right. How about 2 minutes?
I'm sorry, everyone was speaking at the same time. 2 minutes is what I'm hearing.
And that's what Lowe suggested.
Okay.
We usually give 3, Peter. It's not that I want to spend the night here, but I think we usually give people 3.
We've actually done both, but whatever I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what the volume is here, so I would have that depend entirely on the volume.
Well, let's open it to public comment and have people who are interested in speaking raise.
I would say, because I'm filling in some significant heels here, let's do 3 and we'll just move on with this.
And I would just also add for those in the audience, there's a lot of people here with aliases, and if you're going to speak on the record, we do need you to identify yourself. So if you can change your name ahead of time, that's great. If not, please announce your name when you come in, and so we can have a record.
Patrick, are there any lawyers? Because we usually give the lawyers more time, and that could impact the 2 or 3 minute thing.
Yeah.
I am not aware. The only attorney I'm aware of besides Ms. Feinberg and her associate is Mr. Coppola, and I don't see him in the room.
He just showed up.
Oh, well, there we go.
Okay.
Do you want to go with Mr. Coppola first? Is that
Yes, actually, Ms. Kulikowski, do you have something to say?
The project engineer, Miller Engineering, had their hand up a minute ago. I don't know if they.
It's still there. Yeah, let's speak to Mr. Muller. He's part of the project team first. Mr. Muller, if you can join us.
bringing him in now?
Please unmute.
Mr.
Mr.
Muller,
Muller, if you can,
unmute. Yep.
if you can hear us, it's press the unmute button, please. I think it's the other unmute button. Ah, there we go. And there we go again.
Mr. Muller, we can't hear you. You're still muted.
Mr. Muller, one more time, then we have to move on. Okay, should we go on to Mr. Coppola while Mr. Muller's figuring that out?
Yes, Mr. Secretary, did you want to go with Mr. Coppola first?
Yes, I believe he may be representing some of the other members.
All right, we'll bring him in. Mr. Muller, if your microphone works, please just raise your hand and we'll go after this discussion.
Good evening, Mr. Coppola.
Good evening, this is Mario Coppola, Bertram Moses, for the record. I actually was planning on having my colleague Brendan Liberati present this evening because I just got finished with trial and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make this in time. So I'd asked, the only reason I raised my hand is because I think the comment was that we didn't see, no one saw a lawyer on behalf of anyone. And I just wanted to alert folks that Attorney Liberati is here. If you could please elevate him to a panelist, I will go stage left and let him proceed, please.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Liberati?
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So hello. My name is Brendan Liberati. I'm an attorney at Bertram Moses in Westport, Connecticut. And we represent Neil Trivedi and Dr. Marissa Sue, who are the owners of 12 Eccleston Lane. They're the abutting neighbors of the subject property, which is 14 Eccleston Lane. With me tonight, I believe, is the engineer on the project that we consulted with, named Stephen Trinkus. The commission would allow. I'll just speak briefly on some of our main points before then turning it over to the engineer, Stephen Trinkus. First, we just want to note that we have challenged the status of 14 Eggleston Lane as a non-conforming lot. As the commission, I'm assuming, is aware, we argue that 14 Eggleston Lane and 23 Eggleston Lane had merged by operation of law in November of 2019. When the applicant transferred title of 14 Eggleston Lane to the owner of 23 Eggleston Lane via quitclaim deed. The court is scheduled to hear oral argument on this next week on May 5th. And as a result, we're just respectfully requesting that the commission either deny the application until such time as the court has made a determination, at which point the applicant can reapply if the court did in fact rule in their favor, or just for the commission to push back, making a determination on the current application until such time as the court makes a determination. The property is located within the AE 13 flood zone. It's at, as you know, a high risk area. It's 1 in 4 chance of flooding during a 30-year period. This is a application that represents a very intense development. It's on a 0.0292 acre lot. It's within 150 feet of the coastal resources, and the proposal is for approximately 3,497 square feet home, which averages out to about 40% of parcel's total square footage. So it's a very large ask. As the commission already kind of touched on, the application, in our view, is inconsistent with section 6-139.1 of the flood hazard overlay zone regulations, as well as sections of the Coastal Management Act, 22A and 92. They require that the planning process take into account the impacts of rising sea levels on development, to minimize damage and destruction of life and property, minimize the necessity of public expenditure, and that municipal policies are established to ensure that the development proceeds in such a manner that hazards to life and property are minimized. The proposed home exacerbates the current issues in the area, and considering it's a proposal for a 5-bedroom home, it fails to minimize the impacts. There's also, as was touched on, a significant flooding problem in the area during existing conditions, not even with the home constructed, as shown in photographs that were previously given to the commission. The current ponding of stormwater, which will be exacerbated by the increase in impervious surface coverage, as well as the ineffective stormwater management system that our engineer, Stephen Trinkus, will get more into. Clearly, the loss of open space and the increase in impervious surfaces will exacerbate the flooding, and particularly it'll affect our clients. According to the Town of Greenwich GIS, at 12 Eggleston Lane, there's a low elevation point located in the rear of that property. So it's particularly concerning to our clients. The application additionally proposes the removal of an existing line of trees which parallels the property's northern boundary and provides screening for our client's property at 12 Eggleston Lane. Despite multiple requests, the applicant has refused to modify its landscaping plan and has insisted upon citing the proposed dwelling approximately 5.5 feet from our client's property line. If approved, the removal of the trees and the alteration of the existing landscape buffer will adversely impact our client's use and enjoyment of the property, their right to privacy, and as a result, the property value of 12 Eggleston Lane. And finally, as discussed in our letter and in the attached report from the engineer, Stephen Trinkus, there are numerous issues with the proposed stormwater management plan and infiltration on site. So at this time, I'd ask that the engineer, Stephen Trinkus, be promoted so he can touch on those issues.
Mr. Liberati, before we move to Mr. Trinkus, you say, or you're stating that the project will actually fail to mitigate impacts. How does it fail to mitigate the impacts?
So one potential one is that it could be let's say they create a 2-bedroom house that's half the size. That would be an example of mitigation that, it would lead to less stormwater impacts, less offsite impacts, as opposed to the large 5-story building that's currently being constructed. Our belief is that because it's also so closely place to our, our client's property. So I believe it's about a little over 5 feet from the property line. It's going to have a particularly negative impact on our property. So our proposal, which has been rebuffed multiple times, was just to potentially look at siting the house a little bit further back to potentially minimize the impacts to our specifically for our clients.
Okay, you're saying it stated that it would exacerbate the flooding. How would that happen if the project is actually meeting the flood zone regulations in terms of raising it out of the ground, flood vents? How does it exacerbate the flooding in the area?
So the building of the 5-story building will lead to more
five bedroom.
I'm sorry,
five
five, yes, five bedroom building will just increase the and the increase in impervious surface will just lead to an increase in runoff off-site. And
So that's storm drainage or flooding. I think we have to make sure that we understand there's a real difference between tidal flooding and storm drainage.
So that would be storm drainage that I'm talking about.
Okay.
And
so it's a storm drainage issue that's being exacerbated, not a flooding issue.
Correct.
Okay, great. Great. Mr. Trinkas, well, actually, members, do you have any statements here?
Yeah,
do you have any questions?
To follow up on your point, Nick, again, to the extent that this structure complies with the requirements applicable to the property in the zone, and DPW is satisfied that the stormwater management can control flooding, that the stormwater management issues have been addressed, the applicant appears to be doing everything within the regulations to minimize the risk, can eliminate the risk. But again, there's flooding there now, and the stormwater management plan that appears to be satisfactory to DPW is addressing stormwater management. Again, flooding, no one, not even this property owner can control the flooding. So to the extent that that water issues cannot be eliminated, the stormwater drainage issues have been addressed because that's the only one that the property owner can control. So again, I just want to make sure that, as Nick said, we're distinguishing between the flooding risk, which is going to apply whether the property is vacant or you've got a house on it of any size, and stormwater management, which is subject to the regulations and has to satisfy the DPW for that purpose. Thank you.
Mr. Wells.
Yeah, I just had a comment on just specifically on flooding, and that is displacement. If you put an ice cube in a glass of water, the water rises. In this case, there is some displacement based on the structure that's below the floodplain. And I don't know how much it is in cubic feet, but there's going to be a marginal increase in flooding. And we're not talking about stormwater flooding. We're talking about coastal flooding, where you basically have more displacement in this area due to this new house than you would otherwise. That's it.
Point noted. Okay. Mr. Liberati, one last question. We're talking about the landscape plan. I'm looking at the landscape plan right now. I see that the line of trees that are being removed, but there is an adjacent hedge between the two properties. Is my understanding that's staying?
That's correct.
And you're aware of that?
Yes.
And your client's aware of that?
Yes, they're aware that the hedge is still staying. It's just the trees that are going to be removed.
Okay, very good. Before we move to Mr. Trinkas, actually, Mr. Muller, are you available?
Yes, I think I have my microphone working. Can you hear me?
Great. Yes, please. Thank you.
All right.
Proceed.
This is Brian Muller, professional engineer, licensed in the state of Connecticut. I would just like to address the members of the commission with some of the earlier comments about the deep comments. Those are very typical deep comments. We get those comments all the time in high flood areas when the existing grade and elevations of the properties are significantly below the flood elevations. This property is not going to be displacing any flood waters. It is fully flood zone compliant. It has flood vents. So when this whole area floods, underneath this house will also be flooded. So the water is still going to be able to flood this property just as it did under existing conditions. In fact, now we'll have porous driveways with deep gravel stone bases. We have deep gravel stone base beneath the proposed deck. The lower area in the rear yard is not being touched. It's going to stay and remain that way. So we're not filling at all. even though you are allowed to fill within a coastal flood area. So, you know, and to talk about emergency access, you know, the commission could impose a regulation where we have in other towns where you have to do a flood preparedness plan, which, you know, is posted inside of all these new dwellings, which shows the new homeowners what to do when there's a storm event coming, where to find high ground, where to move their vehicles to if they have to. So there does have to be some sense of personal responsibility on the homeowners. You know, if they know that this area is going to flood and they are an elderly person with medical issues, you know, it would behoove them to maybe evacuate. You know, so that comes down to personal responsibility. In regards to stormwater management, we have myself, we have DPW, and we had another third-party engineer who I don't even know. We just sent him all the plans. He reviewed it, and his report came back positive as well. I know this area very well. I actually am the engineer on One Meadowmarsh Lane 2, which is the project that's been going on forever down in this area. You know, and to say our house is 5 feet off the property line for the client at 12 Eggleston, their house is about 9 feet off. Their deck is about 6 feet off the property line. So they are just as close to this common property line. Most of this argument from the neighbor has stemmed from years in the past. It all has to do with the view of the water, which, you know, that's not, they're just, you know, trying to go after every other aspect of the project, which, you know, we tried to do our best to get as many different analysis, many different opinions as we could to present to the commission and DPW to show that we are this property is not going to be impacted from a flood or stormwater management perspective with this new building here. This neighborhood is a very nice neighborhood, and this lot has been confirmed by the zoning board as a buildable lot. So I understand that there is a court hearing on that, and that can be determined by the judge or jury, whatever is going to be done there. However, right now, what we're looking at here is a totally conforming proposal that, unlike other properties in the neighborhood, if they were to be rebuilt, they would have to reduce the size, including 12. They are well over their FAR with many structures on the property. They have a big detached garage in the backyard. Their house is significantly larger as well. So, you know, as far as this development, and we proved that infiltration, we went out there and did infiltration testing. We got an infiltration rate we did 2 tests. We got one of 4.6 inches per hour and 3.6 inches per hour. And in our calculations to show the drawdown calculations, we reduced that in half to be conservative. And we still meet the 72-hour drawdown requirements by DPW's drainage manual. So, you know, we've been working on this project for a long time.
Okay. Mr. Miller, I think
yes.
Mr. Wells may have a question.
Okay.
Yeah, in your test borings, did you hit water, Mr. Mulder, when you and how deep did you go?
Of course. Well, we dug down about, let's see here. We dug down about 6 feet. We hit water in one hole at about 4 feet. The other hole also 4 feet, and we hit mottling at 2 different elevations. One was 28 inches, one was 38 inches. And that's typical. Mean high water out here on any given day, because it's tidal. We're on the beach here, basically. Mean high water is around elevation 3. So depending on high tide, you know, you'll get different levels of groundwater. So again, this is a very low-lying area with a densely developed neighborhood. And again, there are a lot of small houses in here that if they were, like you mentioned, if they were to develop it, if they stay under the 50% evaluation of the project, they don't have to be flood zone compliant. They could add, you know, and the values of these properties down here, the way they are, you know, significant. So they could add significant amount of improvements to the projects, to their other properties, without having to be flood zone compliant. So again, as Ms. Feinberg mentioned, I think there is a careful precedent that could be set here for the whole neighborhood. And I've seen it done in the other neighborhoods across the way, along Fairgreen Lane. We've had projects over there similar. where we've done large developments where neighbors opposed it. And then, they had issues in the future trying to develop their single family lots as well, which they would oppose me. And then they ended up hiring me in the end to do their
Okay.
developments.
Mr. Wells, do you have any additional?
Yeah,
information?
just a follow-up. Thank you. Mr. Mulder, so you hit water at 4 feet. On your infiltration rate, how long does it take to get down to 4 feet if you're, infiltrating down there? I haven't done the math.
Well, we aren't proposing to infiltrate down at groundwater level. We're proposing to infiltrate. The elevation of the test was about 3.9 elevation. The grade was about 4.9. So we dug down about a foot. We have 15 inches of stone underneath the driveway. We can't get any deeper because once you get into groundwater, you're not going to be infiltrating anymore.
Yeah, that's right. But
So-
basically, you're taking credit under the pervious part. You're taking credit for that. Say the grass is the water's going to infiltrate there. You're taking credit for that when you're doing your analysis. So I just wonder how many hours are you good before you hit, the water table?
Well, the drawdown calcs are required to draw down that ponding of water in our infiltration systems within 72 hours.
Okay.
And we showed that we meet those significantly. So it's about 24 hours to 36 hours and our systems are fully drained. Now there is the situation where you can get multiple storm events in
Right.
in consecutive days. So that could be an anomaly. Again, these are an act of God. And just to keep in mind as well, when we talk about sea levels rising, if we were truly concerned about sea levels rising, do you think a bank would give you a 30-year mortgage when they thought that the sea levels would rise and flood all these properties and the properties wouldn't exist anymore? Absolutely not. So
Okay, I think we're getting a little off.
Yeah, we're
Well,
getting off in their
I
bank
think that's
regulations in terms of fair
I
renting.
understand, but that's an important point that, should be on the record.
And banks have never made mistakes. Final comment. I would agree with you on displacement if this house, levitated at 14 feet, but there are structures supporting this house that are going to cause some displacement. Now, maybe it's minor. I don't know how much, but, I think it's disingenuous to say there's going to be no displacement because this house is standing on, pillars and structures. Okay, I'm done. Thank you,
Okay,
Nick.
great. Mr. Muller, can we move on to Mr. Trinkus? He's
Sure. Of course.
Mr. Trinkus, please.
Yes, good afternoon, commissioners. For the record, my name is Stephen Trinkus. I'm a licensed professional engineer from Southbury, Connecticut. I've been licensed since 1988, primarily working as a sole proprietor in land development. I also have a lot of expertise in low impact development, which your Greenwich manual is based on the concepts of LID. I submitted a letter at the end of March. We're going to just go through the more significant issues with stormwater. The applicant did do the 2 deep holes, as we just heard Mr. Mueller say, and the infiltration test. However, you have high modeling on this site at 28 and 36 inches, I think roughly, or 38 inches. Groundwater rises up and down during the seasons, possibly due to tidal influence, but also due to rainfall. This area is a very large bowl. So groundwater elsewhere can begin to saturate. And what happens is if there's not any dry, unsaturated zone underneath the permeable pavement or the stone system, rainfall that falls on those surfaces isn't going to go anywhere. It will fill up the stone voids, and then quite honestly, will fill up to the top of the pavement and become surface runoff. So you have to have a separation to groundwater. We do not have that. You have to base it off the more restrictive condition at 28 inches. And if you're putting 15 inches of gravel underneath your pavement, pavers or asphalt, whatever the applicant is doing, you're not going to have an adequate unsaturated zone for the water to go into, and you're not going to infiltrate into a saturated zone. The other major issue with this concept is there's no water quality treatment. a permeable pavement system, whether it's asphalt or the permeable pavers with pea gravel between them, simply placed on a stone bed, does not provide any water quality treatment. The stone is an inert compound. It does not provide any biological activities. As you're in the coastal environment, 40% of our nutrients, primarily nitrogen and phosphorus, come via atmospheric deposition. It's not from fertilizers on lawns. So, what's happening right now and any rainy day is this stuff falls. You don't see it, but it lands on impervious surfaces. In this case, because there is no treatment of that, you are going to be discharging the nitrogen into the groundwater. And that is a concern because ultimately that reaches your tidal environment. If indeed, as Mr. Mueller said, that, this is kind of tied to, mean high tide, the water comes up and down, it moves in and out. So you're going to receive nitrogen going out into the tidal environment. Nitrogen is a well-known limiting factor in tidal environments, particularly killing tidal grasses, which then expose wetland soils to the wave action in Long Island Sound. And now you have larger problems because your shoreline gets adversely impacted because there's little or no grasses to mitigate the wave action. You're going to have movement of vehicles in here. You're going to have hydrocarbons and some metals from the vehicles. And again, there's no treatment being provided of them. And all of these pollutants, if you don't have sediment where a lot of the pollutants will attach, they stay in solution. So they'll go into that shallow groundwater and they will move into the coastal environment. So you have environmental impacts here from simply a single family house. And Greenwich, like every other town in the state, is subject to the MS4 permit, which is a federal permit administered by Connecticut DEP. The primary focus of the MS4 is to address water quality of impervious surfaces. And while the plan may comply with the letter of your Greenwich manual, I look at it as, is it going to function properly in the field? And the short answer is no, it doesn't. It does not provide water quality benefit. You're not going to get the infiltration that is being stated. The infiltration rates, if they were close to that gravel layer, are not unreasonable for bank run sand and gravel, but the presence of modeling is a concern because that tells you that that groundwater table will come up to that point during certain times of the year. So there's also some issues with the actual design. There's a statement that they're using deep sump catch basins in the gravel bed under the deck and also in the corner of the permeable pavement system. When you look at the cross section, it is basically an open bottom structure. That is not a deep sump catch basin. A deep sump catch basin is a solid structure that pipes come into, and it has a solid bottom, and the deep sump is 4 feet below the outlet pipe. So this is just an open bottom structure. It is not a deep sump catch basin. It provides no water quality treatment whatsoever. Listening to the commissioner's comments, even though you have the flood vents on that lower level, we have a very large roof. So we are going to have increased runoff. And most of the flooding I have seen in sections of Old Greenwich years ago, I'm not sure if I worked in this neighborhood or another similar one, but a lot of the flooding was simply due to the stormwater not being able to drain out to Long Island Sound. So it backs up, and yes, you're at risk, obviously, for tidal events, a hurricane or tropical storm pushing the water up over levees along the coastline. But a lot of the flooding I have seen was simply that the stormwater pipes in the neighborhoods like this go out to the sound, the outlets go underwater, nothing goes out, everything simply backs up. So you're going to have, more flooding due to stormwater on this site. The neighbors have ample pictures of flooding already with nothing being built, and that condition will worsen under this scenario. There's no doubt in my mind. Thank you.
Ms.
Yes,
Jenkins, you have
Mr.
a
Trinkus,
comment?
thank you for your expertise. I'm afraid I probably don't understand a lot of what I'm being told about the technicalities here. Your report, was that based upon an on-site evaluation or merely upon information that's provided to you?
It was reviewing the application online in your land use records. I also did look at the site via Google Maps to get a feel for it. I have done this for over 45 years I get a really good sense reading the plans. I don't have to visit the site.
Okay, and I appreciate that. The other question I have is obviously you refer to water treatment. To the extent that DEEP would have concerns about the quality of the water that's running off not only from this property but shorelands in general, generally complying with the regulations that apply in a flood zone is supposed to minimize the potential impact to the extent that that's possible. And DEEP is only advisory to us, which is why they say these are our concerns, but commission, it's really up to you to make the determination as to whether this is a marginal increase or a significant increase. So, I guess I'm taking more comfort from the DEP comfort with the stormwater treatment than perhaps you are. And again, your expertise far exceeds mine, but again, the regulations that apply to this property are the same regulations that would apply to any house being built at this point in Shoreland. So I have to rely upon DPW to some extent to tell me that it may not be great, it minimizes, it cannot eliminate risk, but it's good. If it's good enough for DPW to some extent, I have to rely upon that. But thank you for your expertise, and I appreciate your answers.
If I could maybe just elaborate a second on that.
Yes,
you know, DPW, in my experience, is reviewing compliance with the letter of the manual, not necessarily the functionality in the field. That is my concern. Is I'm not against development, but I want to make sure it works. DEP has standards in the 24 manual of 90% total suspended solid removal, 60% phosphorus, and 40% nitrogen. Simply, in this case, there's no treatment being provided. The gravel under the pavement was not providing treatment, nor does the bank run sand and gravel underneath the topsoil there provide treatment. And if the infiltration rates are what the applicant says, that water moves quickly through that gravel. And that's the other problem. Gravel will infiltrate a lot of water, but it does not provide treatment. Treatment must occur through contact with loamy soils, organic soils, and vegetation to remove nutrients. And this system does not provide any of that.
Thank you.
Mr. Leroux, we have Mr. Cunningham has his hand up.
Sorry, I'm muted. And again, 3 minutes. Good.
Yes, please.
Okay. We'll promote Mr. Cunningham, and then if anyone else in the public would like to speak, please raise your virtual hand, and we'll go in order. Mr. Cunningham, just need to unmute and you can speak.
Yeah, I think I got it. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Just a couple of things. I think at the beginning, Ms. Feinberg, I may have misheard. I think she originally said it was a 2,800 square foot house, but I think I'm now hearing it's 3,497. So I live in Shorelands and have done since 1996, and have seen the damage that flooding does. I've got pictures of the kids kayaking down Grimes Road. So I think to sort of dismiss the issues that we may have in terms of another event and the risk of life down at what is essentially the lowest point of Shorelands is sort of brushing over something. I just used AI and asked what is the likelihood of hurricanes increasing. And while it says that they're not going to increase by the number, they're likely to increase by their intensity over the next 50 years. So having lived in this area, having seen the flooding that goes on, I just can't understand how, again, we're letting another development potentially go through. Whether it meets all the application guidelines and everything else, I would just to really take a look at this one more. I think once more, I think Mr. Yeski said earlier on, we're shoehorning more and more properties into our area. And we need to take more of a look at this. And just as a resident down there, I would just urge the commission to do just that. You can't just keep approving this. I know we're going to run out of properties to build in Shorelands, but this one is right at the bottom and is going to affect a lot of people.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cunningham. Any others?
I'm not seeing any other public.
I don't see those. Okay,
No.
great. Okay, Ms. Feinberg, do you have anything additional to add?
Yes. Thank you. I think, I'd like to start by just addressing some of the comments that Attorney Liberati made at the onset. So, and I'll try to be brief. He noted that they are challenging the status of the lot, and I addressed this in the memo that I submitted, but this commission confirmed that this is a separate zoning lot for zoning purposes, and that is being challenged in the court, and it'll make its way through the court. And there's nothing that prevents the applicant from proceeding with a CAM application while that is happening. They are well aware of any risks related to litigation. I would say that it would be contrary to law to prevent the application from moving forward. He noted that we are in the flood zone. I think that's well documented at this point. All of Shorelands is in the flood zone, including his client's property, which is directly adjacent. He noted that we are about 150 feet off the coast. So I guess his client's property is, 175 feet off of the coast, or 200 feet off of the coast. He noted that we are proposing a home that would be 5 feet, from his client's property line. That's true, as you all are very well aware. An undersized lot can utilize the setbacks of the zone below. So that is being proposed here on the side yard lot line. His client's predecessors utilized the exact same regulation, which is why their deck is located so close to 14 Eggleston. I would note that while we are utilizing 6-9 for the side yard, we are not utilizing it for the front yard. In fact, the location of the home exceeds the front yard requirement that under 6-9 by 11 feet. He said that we are, that the application is inconsistent with the flood zone regs and the CAM requirements. I think that I've addressed that in all of the memos that I've submitted, so I don't want to spend a lot of time there. I was a little bit confused by the remark related to multiple requests for modification of the landscape buffer. I'm not aware of multiple requests related to that. All of the conversations between the two parties related to the location of the home, both in connection to the side yard and the front yard. There was no conversation about the drainage, and the trees, which are being proposed to be removed, were placed approximately a year ago in order to create some privacy for my client once the litigation began. I think you have all of the comments from conservation reviewing the proposed landscaping plan. It is robust and will put back far more trees than we are taking out. The hedge is remaining, and I would invite the owners of 12 Eggleston to put any additional landscaping on their property line that they think is appropriate. I think Brian responded to a lot of the engineering questions. In terms of what we received from Mr. Trinkus, and we heard today, I guess, he said that the plan may comply with your manual, but essentially it doesn't meet his personal standards. And I think that we have tried to address every single question that has come up with regard to engineering. Mr. Mueller has endorsed it. He has certified it. Your DPW has endorsed it and supported it. And we even went and got a third-party review. So we meet the requirements. We exceed the requirements. Reasonable minds can disagree when it comes to a lot of things, and that includes engineering. The last thing I guess I would say is that, Mr. LaRoe brought this up, I think, at one of the briefings, but the first goal of the CAM Act is to ensure that the development, preservation, or use of the land and water resources of the coastal area proceeds in a manner consistent with the rights of private property owners and the capability of the land and water resources to support development, preservation, or use without significantly disrupting either the natural environment or sound economic growth. This plan has been thoroughly vetted, far more than any of the other properties in the area. The law recently changed, as you know. Most of these homes that have undergone a large renovation or new construction projects would not have come before you before the law just changed. This plan did, and it's been vetted with no evidence of adverse impacts on the coastal resources. The proposed landscaping plan's been endorsed by conservation, and it was recognized for its enhancement of habitat value, support of biodiversity, and improvement to the long-term ecological function of the site. A single-family home is the only viable use for this property. So if the owner is not permitted to construct a single-family home, it would not be consistent with private property rights. I do not believe that that's the intention of the legislature or DEEP or this commission, to deprive a property owner of the only economically valuable use of the land under these circumstances. I believe the submitted application conforms and satisfies all applicable standards, and I hope that you all will approve it today.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ms. Feinberg.
Thank you.
Members, anything else? Okay, shall we close this application?
Yes.
Okay, great. Just a quick question for Mr. Wells. Yes, Mr. Wieski.
I don't mind closing it, but there's a lot here that needs to be noodled on. I don't really want to vote on it tonight.
Okay.
I'm one of those people. I don't know who else feels that way. This really reminds me of a couple other cases I'd like to go back on and very similar. So I'd like some time to go through some of this information, I don't know whether anyone else feels the same way, but
I support that.
no problem. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so we have an extension to June 28th to decide. Is that correct, Mr. Moreau?
The current extension actually does expire tonight for deciding the application.
Right, and we can't. It's not a public hearing item, so we cannot close and then decide. We'd have to leave it open and then agree to come back at the next meeting with an extension from the applicant, who would have to grant that to us.
Okay, so we're looking for an extension from Ms. Feinberg. We will not close, and then we can move. We can keep this open for the rest of the members to mull over.
I would just need Ms. Feinberg to either agree or not.
Yes, the applicant is willing to provide an extension.
To the next meeting? Is that what we're?
Yes, to the next meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, so we will keep this open, defer closing until the next meeting. Applicant provide us with a extension to decide to. This would be May
12th.
May 12th. Great, thank you very much. Okay, I don't believe I have anything else. Mr. Yaski, you still have your hand up?
Sorry, Chair.
Okay, great. I think we're good with this. Anything else, Mr. LaRoe, Ms. Kolakowski?
I'm good.
Okay, great. So then we can move on to next application.
Yes, and we're gonna bring in the court reporter as well. We're going in.
Yes, this is now opening the public hearing.
The public hearing.
First application is 151 Old Church Road. I believe this is Mr. Hegney. He's available.
It is, and Mr. Basili, can you hear us?
Yes, I hear you. Sounds
Thank you.
good. All right, you're welcome.
Okay, so Mr. Hegney, 151, we're looking at a final re-subdivision for a lot consolidation at this site.
Yes, Mr. Acting Chair, Mr. Secretary. Good evening, members of the Commission. For the record, Tom Hegney on behalf of the applicant. We were before you at the last meeting and we're discussing whether we wanted to rather than change the lot line, eliminate the lot line. This is a 2-lot subdivision that was approved in 1989. There is an open space parcel that's associated with it. Whether you call it open space, or you call it park and playground, or you call it a restricted area, it's governed by the same declaration of restrictions that was recorded when the subdivision was first adopted in 1989. The owners have decided to consolidate the lots and merge them together into one parcel that's 3.3 acres, rather than doing the lot line revision. And so we submitted a map to you that showed that. Clearly, combining 2 lots into one is neither a subdivision nor re-subdivision. It will enable my client to reconfigure the property, move the tennis court away from the wetland area to the rear of the property, and not, as was originally contemplated, build an additional dwelling on the site. So that gets removed from their potential development. So we would ask that you make a determination that this is neither a subdivision nor re-subdivision. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, members, any questions, any comments? Okay, Mr. LaRoe, do we have anybody in the public that would like to speak?
Anybody wishes to speak on 0 and 151 Old Church, please raise your virtual hand. No hands raised.
Okay, so no public. I would say we ready to close this application?
Yes.
Good.
Okay, great. So we shall close this, and this is public hearing, so we'll decide this later on.
Right.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hegney. Have a good evening.
You too.
Okay, next application is 10 Riverside Avenue. I believe this is Mr. DeAndrea.
Oh, there's 2 DeAndreas. I will grab. Fully. Okay. This should be the Tony DeAndrea.
Only if it's a good plan.
Again, Mr. Racker, do you mind announcing the application?
Yes, this is, where did it go here? 10 Riverside Avenue, reconfiguration of parking at Hill House, final coastal site plan and special permit. Mr. DeAndre, you ready to go?
All right. Good evening, everyone. Since we are recorded, my name is Tony DeAndrea, and I am representing the Hill House Incorporated. And the application is very simply to request approval to expand the southerly driveway to provide an additional 6 parking spaces to address some of the concerns of the current residents that they are lacking enough parking. That's a situation that has evolved since their original approval. I think the members of the of Hill House provided a note to the commissions stating that things have changed in their demographics, which has required a few more parking spaces. We initiated this investigation and development plan by considering different options for arranging the parking. The least impactful design that we considered was the expansion of the parking to the south by eliminating a narrow landscape area that currently contains 2 maple trees that have a dimension of about 8 to 10 inches. In my opinion, they are in somewhat of distressed condition. There are also 7 shrubbery bushes of different variety that are interspersed in that landscape area. The expansion that we're proposing involves diagonal parking. I sent a copy of a recent photo, very recent in fact, to Tracy. I hope it was distributed to the commission. What it was intended to show that as a interim condition, the residents have taken it upon themselves to implement the plan that we had suggested as a committee, working with them, to plant to park diagonal. I didn't direct them to park diagonal, but they realized that that was a more efficient pattern. When a resident enters the property, they drive westerly down the driveway and turn, and then enter back up the driveway and park at the slight diagonal, which we have proposed to be 75 degrees. The reason we've chosen that diagonal, there's several. One is it reduces the amount of pavement that we would have to increase to create perpendicular spaces or 90-degree parking. So by doing that, we save on pavement cost and disruption of existing landscaping along the north side of the existing driveway. We also determined from practice and experience that on the diagonal parking, you are not fighting the entire weight of the door that you're trying to push up while parking on an 8 to 10 degree slope. So the slight diagonal helps in that opening and closing of the door, at least in our considered opinion. Another factor that we have by using the diagonal parking is that we do end up with a landscape area that would provide some screening along the southeast corner of the driveway at the intersection of Riverside Avenue. We presented a full drainage report to the DPW, which approved it for building permit. We have a positive comment from the fire department stating that we have no problem with access for them. I think one of the big advantages is the wide area at the bottom of the hill in front of the existing building, which provides a full radius turn for any of the vehicles. You also notice that the vehicles that are parked along the side of the driveway right now are not Escalades or Toyota Land Cruisers. They're what we call compact or moderate size vehicles. We would like to point out that in the concern for landscaping, the coverage on this property uniquely is only 31%. There is a tremendous amount of natural forested area to the west side of the building leading down to the Minas River. And we've also worked with the landscape committee who are very adamant about maintaining the existing landscaping that they have on the north side of the existing driveway. There was some discussion at the briefing yesterday about the buffering that these two trees provide for the sound coming from I-95. Apparently a neighbor had written in some kind of concern. The building itself is what buffers those homes down at the bottom of the hill on Walsey Way. Those two trees that we propose to be removed hardly provide any buffering for that. So in contrast to the comments from the Beta consultant to the town, we do not agree that in this case, 90-degree parking is in any way more efficient. It's more disruptive and destructive. We like the slightly diagonal parking, and we propose to continue that position. The lighting that exists today is all that the Hill House is proposing. We don't intend to add any more at this time. We understand that if we were, we would be presenting that to ARC for consideration. So with that summary, I would answer any questions and respectfully ask for approval this evening.
So Mr. DeAndre, they're actually parking there now in this configuration, just
Yes, sir.
naturally.
There are 5 parallel spaces, and in comparison to the 5 parallel spaces on a hill, the slightly diagonal parking is a far superior proposal for this site, in my opinion. So, as I said, I didn't coach, if you will, the residents, because I've not met the residents that actually park, but they have taken it upon themselves to recognize that it is a better situation. I think it's evolved during our colder winter when we did have more snow and more plowing and less room perhaps to maneuver. But it proves that the parking as proposed is appropriate and efficient for this location.
Okay, and you did look at what the beta suggestion was, and what is your opinion of that? That it's just too much that's removed on the opposite side of
Yes,
the
sir. By
driveway?
working northerly across the driveway, a 90-degree parking requires us to have an 18-foot space and then a 23-foot aisle. And that would, increase our width by about 4.5 feet. When you look at the site on that north side where we have a pinch point, there is landscaping, and I think it shows in the photo fairly well. On that northerly side. So we don't want to destroy that anymore for that reason, landscaping. It just catches it. I didn't do a really good job catching that. I'm sorry. But you can see the pinch point on that photograph number 2. You'll see the catch base that shows clearly on the site plan. And then there's a major tree, which we call 15-inch maple. And you could just see the landscaping in the grass. And then next to it, you'll see a mulch. And that section is planted with low shrubs. And personally, I agree.
Okay.
I mean, I strongly recommend that the diagonal parking is easier to negotiate in this situation rather than the 90-degree on that slope.
Okay. Who actually parks here?
All
These are
sir.
residents? Okay, and they are required in the proposal to go all the way to the bottom, turn around, and come up into the spaces. That's the way it's
answer
going
to
to
that
work?
is yes. And if you continue the parallel parking, that's the only way you can access the parallel parking. There's no way you're going to parallel park coming straight in.
Right. I understand. Okay. Okay, and then there is a landscaped area at Riverside Avenue
There's
now.
a very small one, Mr. McRyan, and on our plan we show it. It's a very small one. It seems a little larger than what shows on paper because it extends a little south, into the right of way, the I-95 corridor, if you will.
Okay. Got it.
What we propose there, if
And that's actually the sign for the site is there too, correct? Yeah, the sign for the site is on that landscaped area as well. My understanding.
I'm getting older and I don't hear well, especially when I'm talking over you. So one more time, please.
The sign for the project site is on in that landscaped area.
I don't believe
is that
so.
correct?
I don't believe so. There's a sign farther north of the driveway between the two, if I recall correctly. I wasn't concentrating on that, but I don't believe there's a sign for the facility there. No.
Okay. Okay. Great. Any other members have questions? Yes.
Mr. DeAndrea, I assume there's been no striping in the current practice. Is that right? That they're on that diagonal?
Is there striping there now? Is that what the
Yes.
question was?
Yeah.
No, sir. No,
Yeah.
the current striping is the parallel parking.
Yeah. Another question. You saw Beta's comments, and I wonder, do you have an opportunity to have direct contact with Beta to discuss
sir.
this?
No, they're consultants to the town. We don't have direct access to them.
All right.
Tracy, you agree with that?
We could facilitate a meeting if there's something the commission would like to have a coordination about.
Right.
Well,
That'd be
I think it's interesting that Beta came up with that, and Mr. DeAndrea feels quite strongly to the contrary. So, and he's not being arbitrary about it. So,
I definitely am not being arbitrary. I feel very strongly about it.
yeah, no, that's clear. So, I don't know. I mean, we either have to decide that Mr. DeAndrea is right, or we get some clarification or some indication of the strength of Beta's recommendation. How do we normally handle this, Mr. LaRoe?
I think when we have these type of situations where the commission would like the professionals to not argue but talk it out, we certainly can facilitate or host the meeting and do it that way.
Well, we're, as everybody knows, we're dependent upon our consultants, our various agencies that, assist us here. And it's, I think we're generally loath to just willy-nilly go against them without some opportunity to have some discussion.
And Mr. DeAndrea made a lot of additional information about the topography here and things like that, and perhaps Beta would have a similar assessment or a dissimilar, like if they we talked it out. So we certainly, if the commission would like to, we could certainly facilitate it.
What's your feeling about that? How do we handle this?
Are you asking me or the commission?
I'm asking you right now.
I think it's a good idea. I mean, we could also, I guess, if it was too much to have a meeting in the next few days, we certainly could bring the question and the representation that Mr. DeAndrea has made here to them and see if that influences the memo.
Yeah, mitigates their concern in some point.
Right.
Yeah.
So we could do both ways, but I'm sure Mr. DeAndrea would like to.
I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one that has this thought or concern, but so I'll let others speak.
Ms. Jenkins?
Yes, the Beta didn't increase the number of spaces, though. It's just the angle. Is that correct?
That's
it's 11
correct.
spaces
Yeah.
straight.
Mhm.
I would like to just point out that it is probably easier, since these are elderly residents, for them to park at something other than a 90-degree angle, which is why they're naturally considering it a diagonal rather than a straight 90-degree straight in. But to the extent that Mr. Lowe wants some further coordination with Beta, they are our advisors, and we should be sure we understand what their points are.
In an attempt to counter the need for a meeting with Beta, I would offer the following. I always start with 90-degree parking because I get one more space often. And you lose a space typically with diagonal.
Okay.
So we went at it very carefully. And I think that's something that perhaps Beta may not understand. I will also add one more thought in that there's nothing prohibiting an angled parking. We have it extensively, as you know, along Greenwich Avenue, Sound Beach Avenue, and many other places in town. The zoning regulations do not require 90-degree parking. And for those reasons that I mentioned, extra pavement, more landscaping at risk, we believe in this case that the diagonal parking is easier. I agree with Ms. Jenkins that access up the hill, not making a hard right-hand turn, a soft movement into a space on a slope is appropriate in this location. But I'm willing to sit down with Beta if they would like to discuss it.
I think actually understanding what Beta was actually discussing and presenting back to us, they were more concerned about actually the vehicle movements of driving all the way down and coming back up. It seems like they're doing this already, and I think actually Ms. Jenkins bringing up a point of
yes,
coming into the site. Yes, they may have to go all the way to the bottom and come back again, but in that area, they're actually now heading out.
Right.
They can park into the space, just drive into the space, and then simply back out, and they're always pointed in the right direction.
I
And I
agree.
think to me that seems like a better safety issue, understanding the nature of this laid out geometry and the people who are parking there, who may not be the best drivers anymore.
And I think particularly avoiding the two-way traffic, that's kind of scary, because if there's a visibility issue, again, I'm just thinking in terms of the ease for the older driver.
Is there a way to check with Beta and see if they have some compelling argument that would somehow conflict with what Mr. DeAndrea is suggesting? I don't really care, but I do think it's important to be receptive to the groups that are trying to help us out.
Right. I think actually there's the statement in the letter it's due to their angle configuration of the parking lot, drivers entering the site will not be able to turn directly into the new
Right.
parking spaces. That was the premise of the, let's do this and make them 90, so when you come in the driveway, you can, just pop right into it. I think what I'm saying is that I understand that argument, but it would seem to me actually if the drivers go all the way to the bottom as they are now, come up into the angle, these vehicle movements seem to be a little bit more fluid and easier to navigate than coming in and trying to, on actually a little bit of a curve, try to pull into the space. Personally, if I was actually in this configuration, driving in, I can see it, and trying to park into a 90 degree space might be an issue. If I actually had to go all the way to that bottom and come back out, I really can understand that and appreciate it.
One more thing, Mr. Macker, if I may, when you go down to the bottom, which everybody else does anyway, because of the number of spaces that are there currently, that's not an uncommon move. Then as you come back up the hill, you can see what space is available, right? If you're coming down the hill and you miss one on a 90 degree for whatever reason, you have to come back up the hill anyway. And now you're making a hard right-hand turn, which is a very difficult turn for all of us, in my opinion. So I again, glad to speak to Beta. I think would be an unnecessary indulgence, but more than happy to do so. I think we've set the tone of what I will be presenting, and I would hope that the commission agrees with my position.
Mr. DeAndrea, the maneuvering ability and the turning ability down at the bottom, is that significant? I mean, is it generous enough for an elderly driver to get in there and
The
turn
inside
around?
radius of a passenger vehicle is 23 feet. I've made it numerous times during the process of this design. And even as late as this morning with the full parking contingent there, I made the turn again without having to 3-point. So it's straight away doable.
Very good. Mr. LaRoe?
Mr. Macra, you asked about the sign for Hill House. It is in this island here, I think, or this curb area.
Is that the same one that you're going to be expanding, Mr. DeAndrea?
It'll be in that area. I stand corrected on the actual sign there. I apologize, but I didn't even see it in my photo. So we'll certainly fit it in the island that we have. I'd have to go see exactly where that is, and I'm surprised I didn't locate it on the survey, but
okay,
I'll
that's
go
okay.
check.
Signage is something that haunts me from ARC years ago. So
We'll keep it and we'll relocate it so that it doesn't block anybody.
We have audience public comment, Mr. Macrae, if you're ready.
yes, yes. So let's do public comment, please. And who do we have here?
Miss
Fox. Mrs. Fox, can you unmute, please?
Thank
There we
you.
go.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me? Is that all right?
Yes. Yes. Oh, I think she froze up.
I think you're.
I'm a board member, vice president of the Hill House Board. So on behalf of the board, we would ask the commission to please approve this plan. I want to just cover a couple of the points that you made before. As a board member, I go to the facility quite often, head of the landscape committee there. And one of the big concerns about expanding to the opposite side of the driveway is that, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but on Riverside Avenue at Christmas, we have 3 major pine trees. They're known as the 3 wise men that are lit between Thanksgiving and Martin Luther King Day. And the tree roots there are very extensive. So that is one of the reasons we didn't want to cut into that side of the driveway, number one. Number two, yes, most of the residents, especially this past winter, actually have been using the upper portion on diagonal parking because it was able to get plowed better. Number 3, yes, the sign will have to be relocated because people who are visiting Hill House 2, and that's the bottom area usually, and the residents need to know where to go for that building as opposed to Hill House 1. So that's why there's a 2-sign separation. As head of the landscaping committee, we're happy to work out any plan that you would like us to do with regard to new landscaping at the edge of the property along Riverside Avenue. The turning radius as you go down, and this is the way people always go, all the way down, turn around and come back up and park at the 90-degree parking spaces. That is being more difficult, as one would say, especially in bad weather when there's snow. So I think from the standpoint of getting the site cleared and the turning radius, it's been an operation, especially this past winter, which the residents were thrilled to be able to do the angled parking because they were able to get in and out of their cars a lot better. So I just want to respond to a couple of the questions. If you have any other concerns, please let me know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Fox. Do we have anybody else? Double check. Okay, I don't see anybody else, any other public comments. So anything to add, Mr. DeAndrea?
No, not for me tonight. Thank you very much.
Okay, members, shall we, any thoughts or comments before we move? Okay. Should we close this? Okay, very good. Shall close 10 Riverside Avenue and discuss this at the end of the meeting. Okay.
And I'd say Mr. DeAndrea will be on the next application, so I wouldn't demote him.
Okay, don't demote him. Next application is TPF Home Builders, Davis Avenue, Home Place. Mr. DeAndrea, and do we have an applicant as well?
Yes.
I'm sorry. What? Ready to go? Okay.
Oh, yes, there we go. Yes, Mr. Eng is on. Okay.
Chair, I'm recused on
Ms.
this because
Jenkins.
I'm a trust member.
Very good. Thank you very much.
All right. Good afternoon and good evening again, Tony
Okay,
DeAndrea.
so
I'm working very closely with TPF Home Builders LLC, who are the applicants and owners of the property. We have had significant discussions for many times. The last hearing we had on March 31st, there were several issues. One of them remains, I believe, some of the concerns about comparability, which I will turn over to Parker and Lillian. But I did want to talk about some of the things that have occurred in our presentation since our last hearing, involving the engineering and design aspects. Significantly, there were requests by DPW for waivers or responses to their requirement to request waivers of certain criteria. We submitted 3 waiver letters, 2 of which were related to driveway numbers and locations. We demonstrated that clearly we were reducing numbers of driveways on Home Place from 4 to 3. And we also demonstrated that the 3 remaining driveways would have the same separation as the existing 3 driveways that were to remain. Ultimately, the DPW review committee granted the waivers of the 2 letters of request, 2 request letters for the driveways. Again, numbers and spacing. We've presented a 3rd request for, in response to their requirement to remove an existing historic, I will call it historic only because of its age, wall that is located along the northerly boundary of the property. That is best described on our plans as the stairway leading down from the top of the property in the vicinity of number 376, Davis Avenue. That request for a waiver was verbally discouraged. We requested on behalf of the applicant consideration of a license agreement for the wall to remain. There have been other instances recently where the DPW has agreed to allow a wall. Most recently, in my experience, was on Cutler Road, a stone wall nondescript construction was reconstructed within the right of way, and the DPW granted a license agreement, documented and recorded, for that wall to remain. In this case, DPW's review committee determined that they would not approve that request for a license, and I don't recall the exact language at this moment, but it must be removed. We're not in agreement with that opinion. I'm not certain of the legal standing of the opinion of the DPW that it must be removed. And I think that will be continued in another forum, or I hope it would be. From there, I would like to move in just to respond to some of the comments that were offered at the briefing yesterday. If I may take them in somewhat of an order that was as I recorded them. Mr. Wells, you were concerned about the width of the driveway. It is definitely deficient from standards, which require typically a right of way to be 50. Our zoning regulations require normally individual property owners to add to some of the setback when there is a deficient right of way. In our case, we have two buildings that are existing, and we propose no changes. So the application of the half of the deficiency to our setbacks would not be applicable to number 8 Home Place and 382 Davis Avenue, which are the two buildings on the corner of Home Place and Davis Avenue. You might suggest that it be applied to building number I that we are proposing, basically in the location of an existing dwelling number 18. In this case, under the format of the 830G, we would ask the commission, excuse me, I went through all three, the commission to approve that and understand that. So we are not proposing, nor are we requesting a variance to allow building I to remain as proposed. The rest of the buildings on the site conform to setbacks under the normal R6 zone, regardless of the width of Home Place. Home Place has a right-of-way width of 20 feet. That provides a consistent width according to our design regulations for two-way traffic on a driveway. Recently, the commission approved a subdivision with an 18-foot wide roadway off of Dublin Hill Drive. So it shows you a comparison. If you were to go out and measure the width of the pavement on Mason Street, just south of Fawcett Place, you would find that between the two parked cars on either side of the street, we barely have 20 feet of pavement. So that's provided as comparison to your concern about the width. There have been some comments from neighbors that we've read that indicate or suggest that there's a parking problem or a constriction along the street. It's not coming from anything on Home Place in the vicinity of the property owned by TPF Home Builders. If there are any problems with parking, it's due to residents that are currently occupying homes on Home Place. Currently, there are no homes occupied on the subject property. During construction, Mr. Wells, all the construction vehicles, based on how I'm going to describe staging, will not be parked on Home Place. So at no time will there be construction vehicles or residential vehicles from Home Place development being parked on Home Place. Mr. Lowe, leading into that,
Can I follow up with a question because you addressed me kindly. Did I hear you correctly, Mr. DeAndrew? Did you describe Home Place Lane as a driveway?
No, I said, if I said driveway in any ways, I was making a comparison to the pavement width of a subdivision roadway. I mentioned a driveway entering into dwelling number 18.
Yeah, so
driveways relative to the spacing, which was the subject of a waiver.
Okay, so I guess my question is, so this is 20-foot wide, a lane. what is standard? What does the
Okay.
DPW manual say?
Right. It's not necessarily a DPW. It's really a state regulation for subdivision and zoning. All roadways are assumed or required to be within a right of way of 50 feet. Pavement within the right of way can vary. The commission, for example, as I said, approved a roadway within a 50-foot wide right of way as only 18 feet wide of pavement. In this case, the pavement within the 20-foot wide roadway is essentially the same width or 20 feet.
Okay.
And that's actually home place itself.
It's just the pavement is as wide as the right of way here. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Mr.
Yeah.
Wells? Okay,
You answered my question. Thank you.
great. Okay,
then-
continue, Mr. DeAndrea?
Continue.
Yes, please.
Okay. The next concern I think was referenced, suggested by Mr. Lowe, which was relative to staging, and I wanted to touch on that. The way this project is envisioned right now for construction, and it has not been finalized, of course, because at this point we don't have final contracts with the contractor, and we can't tell them exactly how they're going to do it. But the way it's envisioned with preliminary discussions are as follows. There's an existing driveway right now that's centered between number 8 and number 18 Home Place. And that's shown, can be seen on the original topographic plan. And it will be eliminated by the development. But in the interim, while construction is initiated, all the construction activity will go up that driveway. For those of you who have been there recently, the fence that's surrounding the property has an indentation and a gate to allow vehicles to pull in while the gate is open and then drive up to the top of the property. At the top of the property, there's a large development area that needs to be adjusted. And part of the adjustment is to take down the knobs that are there that are not part of the design topography. And it's also in that initial stage, clearing and grubbing, we call it, take off the topsoil, stockpile it. And I envision that they'll start from the north and work their way to the south. And they're going to clear the overburden and then start to shape the ground for the ultimate or the eventual foundations. This development plan was designed to accommodate those variations in the topography. In some of the buildings, we have walkout basements. In some of the buildings surrounding the buildings, we've proposed walls to account for the drop in grade so that we can provide more usable level area between the structures. So the initial construction is to do that, prepare the upper site, prepare the individual sites, and perhaps start building some, foundations as they work their way out. But at the same time, while all this construction activity is occurring at the top, they're also going to be constructing the main driveway. And they do that from the top working to the bottom. Those of you who've been to the site, you can see how the rock formation is in slabs. I call it slabs, but there's striations in the rock. Today's equipment, some of that rock will actually be ripped apart. In other places along the property, we'll have some harder rock, and we're going to propose to line drill, which is actually perforating the rock. And that way, the blasting that would be followed from the drilling. The initial drilling creates a seam. The blasting is easier because the rocks can pop off. And in this case, for those of you who've seen the property in close context with the plan, you'll notice that our driveway is going up alongside a sloping rock formation. So when they drill at the top of the rock falls off to the north in this case, and it has very little resistance, and therefore there's very little chance for impact or significant impact on anybody in the neighborhood. At this point, we still haven't entered into Home Place. We entered in off the existing driveway. We're working our way down from the top to the bottom along the main driveway, and a significant amount of earthwork has been accomplished without ever touching Home Place. eventually, we do have to install the extended water main. We do have to bring in a new gas line. We do have to bring in underground utilities. Those will all be done in stages, and they'll be done without closing off home place. There will always be one lane open. It's unavoidable it's unavoidable. We do have to ultimately cross the street at some point to make connection to the water line on the east side, as are some other utilities in the form of gas and water. We will also be doing a storm drain down the west side, but never are we doing both at the same time. So by the time the contractor is ready to get out into home place to do the utilities, we basically installed the infrastructure, storm drain, sanitary sewer, and utility conduits all within the property without entering into home place. So work will continue on the upper levels to create to excavate for the foundations and then build the foundations. So that's it. Now, once we need more people on site, you'll notice that if we start from the north and work to the south, in the vicinity of buildings A, B, and C, proposed, we have a minimum of 12 parking spaces. For construction staging, we can park more. So we'll use the same driveway that exists today. We'll get up to the top, we'll level off the site, we'll get it down to grade, and we basically created our own parking space. So I'm not concerned about that. And then I'll reiterate again, if I may be somewhat repetitive, any parking today that creates a problem is not due to this site. It's already there, and it's a result of what the current residents are doing. I did take a recent drive through there during the day, a weekday, and there were cars parked on the side. They weren't our cars. So I think that's just proof that we have to take at face value.
Mr. DeAndrea, if I can interrupt.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so what are you all having ongoing communication with the neighbors to reassure them that the vehicles that are choking home place are not coming from this project?
At the current time, I know that Lillian and Parker have had conversations. I'll let them speak directly to communication with the neighbors. But I just want to keep reiterating the fact that if there is a problem right now, it's not as a result of...
I get it. I understand that. I accept that. I'm just, to the extent that the neighbors are focused on the sense that they are being kind of choked down on their little one-way, one-lane road.
Yes, sir.
I think it would behoove everybody to, you can't do enough reassuring of the public kind of thing.
Yes, sir. That public relations will definitely be a part of this. Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right. That's it.
And
Okay.
more than happy to communicate in good faith and at the appropriate time.
Okay, so Mr. DeAndrea, the construction staging will start with buildings, I guess it's A, B, and C, and work slowly out towards the final driveway and out to home place. And if I understand you correctly, all of the utilities are in home place and there'll be connections there. Is that correct?
Till our driveway is passable.
Yes.
Then there's no reason not to assume that all of our work can come up that main driveway. Okay.
Okay. And just understand the short of the two building renovations, the buildings as
Yes.
proposed are all modular, so they will actually go up quite quickly.
Yes, sir. That is
So,
correct.
which would mean actually a lot less labor on site.
The challenge, without doubt, it will be access for the delivery and crane to deliver the units and how to stage them. But that'll have to be developed and worked out with, highway and engineering as to when and if a lane can be closed. Is it going to be, possibly late at night, early in the morning, whatever? That will have to be coordinated without a doubt. Yes, sir.
Got it. Okay, great. Just a quick question about that stone wall. Did DPW provide a reason why the waiver or license agreement would be denied? Is it an impediment? Is it just it's in the right of way? Is there a real reason, you know?
It's in the right of way, and I was gonna try and get the. You know, as case may be, I didn't bring the actual letter
Okay,
into this
okay,
room.
that's quite all right. Okay,
There was not a reason in the letter, but I'll get it.
okay. Any other members have questions for
What
Mr.
I
DeAndrea?
remember is it must be removed, and that's what caught my attention.
Mhm,
It must be removed. I'm not so
Right.
sure that's the case. What I do want to point out in that, if I may, Mr. McRae, is that it's an interesting piece of work in that it's old and it's, from that aspect, it's unique. But also, you have to understand that from the bottom, the elevation of the existing edge of Davis Avenue right now is about elevation 14. And then there's a significant set of stairs that rises
Mhm.
up to a platform, and then another wall, and then it rises up. Ultimately, it rises all the way up to elevation 30, if I remember correctly. Let me just
Mhm.
check my notes here. I highlighted it, but I put it on the bottom sheet. So that's elevation 30 at the back of what's going to be building B. So we're rising from 14 to 30 in our property, and that's 16 feet, and that's a significant number. And to remove that wall, the first wall, means that you would have to build another wall about 6 or 7 feet high. And that's expensive,
Mhm.
and it's unnecessary. And it might not be attractive, and certainly may not be as attractive as the one that we have now. And we wouldn't want to do something spiteful. I don't think that the TPF group would ever do that. But you can also envision that this would be a very significant undertaking for no reason. And that we would like the commission to consider that. At this time, that there's no
Right.
reason to remove that wall.
Understanding the comments, understanding comments came back, they only wanted a small portion of the stairs to be removed of that wall. I think we had discussed how that wall actually provides a little bit of character to this particular neighborhood. And the only thing I can see is that, yes, it's in the town's
Yes, it
right
is.
of way. Maybe the stair itself is a hazard because it basically doesn't connect anything to anything other than the curb. So somebody walking down the street could walk right into the street. I think it's just something actually maybe for further discussion, because I think actually there's two aspects to it. Is it a significant safety issue? And can anything be done to mitigate that safety issue to the satisfaction of DPW?
There's always a way. But here, while this is on the screen, you see that, as I pointed out, the curb is 14 at the gutter line. And due to the topography, which we're trying to build to, you see that the first floor of building B is basically at code above the existing ground. In other words, typically the first floor is about 2 feet above the finished grade, which in this case is about 38. And we're proposing a floor of 39.5. Then we have a walkout at 29. So you'd still have to climb 16 feet on stairway to nowhere in my backyard of my patio. So we don't want the stairs to invite anybody in. On the other hand, we don't want to remove the wall. If the suggestion was to find some old stone and try to close up the gap, that may be something to consider. But then we're removing the bottom stairs, which are in pretty good shape, and the sidewalk to nowhere. But again, those are discussions we can
Okay,
have.
so right, as I think as continued discussions, maybe a staff can actually facilitate something. Okay, members, do we have any other comments? Any other questions of Mr. DeAndrea? Ms. Kolakowski?
Did you still wanted to see the letter from DPW? I have it.
No, I think actually we've kind of gone back and forth. I think we've just talked about actually having a continued discussion with the DPW as to safety issues, whether if it's just in the right of way, so on and so forth, but getting their mindset on this so we can actually talk about it on the common ground. So, okay. Any other members? Mr. Eng, there was some question last time about the comparability. I wonder if you can actually we can address some of that.
Yes, of course. Good evening. The last time we spoke, we were asked to look at the comparability. We looked at the 3-bedroom of the affordable units and how that compared to the 3-bedroom of the market rate. They were lower, but that does not take into account square footage aspects of the market rate. So we removed the garage spaces of the market rate and also looked at removing the finished attic space, which we had only recently looked to add as finished, and that brought the comparability much closer at about 70% of the market rate. I would also want to note that the change from 2-bedroom to 3-bedroom of the affordable units located in 382 Davis was recent, so to speak, relative to the pre-application. We thought we could fit in the additional bedroom as extra space for families. So that's where we are in needing to compare that 3-bedroom to the 3-bedroom market rate. We were also asked to look at potentially whether Building B could serve as the affordable units instead of 382. And that did bring the comparable ratio closer to about 90%, which, within 10% may be deemed, appropriate. That did not necessarily work as well with the economics on our end and our pro forma on how the development project would work. So we're not as favorable to us in the development of it in that way. So we were potentially thinking, not proceeding with the 3-bedroom unit in the 382 Davis affordable units and reverting them back to larger 2-bedroom, so to speak, units. And in that way, are more like to like, since there are no 2-bedroom market rate units.
Okay, so in terms of size, you're close on the comparability. Finished attic in a modular construction, is that a real consideration? I mean, is that there going to be enough room up inside the attic of a modular to be usable?
It's not all the attic space. It is more limited, given that you need to create knee walls on the edges where the eaves are, and the only real space is towards the center where the peak is. But it's additional square footage, depending on how you count it, whether it's for storage or, something of that nature.
Okay, I've always found that with a modular, once the roof is tipped up, knee walls are in, that kind of stuff, you're limited up there. It usually winds up as somebody's storage attic and air handlers, but it is what it is. And I guess we just the finishes will be comparable throughout the site.
Yes, comparable, very close, if not the same, and certainly no large differences in finishing at all.
Okay, and you actually know moving units to Building B, that was all of the units?
That would have been the 2 affordable units that are currently proposed in 382 Davis Ave.
Okay. Would it be possible to kind of split the difference and put 1 unit in Building B? What I'm getting at is actually, could you actually kind of just mix it up a little bit and integrate the affordable units more into the other buildings? Or is that still a detriment? Singular units with, combined with other units in that particular building.
We can certainly look at that.
Okay, because I think actually it's that idea of actually integrating it all into the complete development, the whole site. And then actually the work for the renovations, are you intending actually to completely gut the existing buildings and upgrade everything?
For 382, yes.
Okay. Okay, and then the similar, I just, for my own curiosity, the exteriors will actually be similar to the modulars that are being put in?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Members, any questions for Ms. Fong or Mr. Eng? Okay, Should we move to public comment?
Hold on. Mr. Yeski, I think just.
Yes, Mr. Yeski?
I didn't hear anything. We've asked a couple times about meetings with neighbors. Commissioner Lowe brought it up again. Did they say anything? Did I miss it or what?
I think we skipped over it. Mr. Eng, have you reached out to the neighbors?
Yes, we had some conversations with neighbors earlier on. Most recently, we have sent a letter, so to speak, to all neighbors for emails that we had on record, and then the planning and zoning staff was able to send it to other neighbors whose emails we did not have, outlining most of, if not all of the concerns that they've shared with us to help hopefully address them. For parking, for example, I think Mr. Lowe asked about whether we've spoken with them about parking on the street. To our knowledge, all parking, in front of the property line of what is now 18 Home Place is not our vehicles. And frequently there has been, landscaping towards the north of Home Place, which again is not for the properties within our project. So we've emphasized that any parking on the street would not be occurring with this proposed development, and all parking that is needed is located within the site at the top of the site.
Okay, just a quick question. By outreach to the neighborhood, did you reach out to the residents of the neighborhood and the property owners of the neighborhood, or just the residents?
The letter was sent to a mix of the residents and the property owners.
Okay.
And in cases where it was the property owner only, I think it would be appropriate that they shared it with the tenants.
Very good. Mr. Gasky?
Yeah, this letter, I haven't seen the letter, but what we raised the last time, and we were getting into the construction schedule, and I didn't realize it until I looked at Google Earth that you had actually done a fair amount of demolition already. And they were bringing up what's happening next. Does the letter include any kind of a detailed look at the construction logistics? Or I got the parking, but there's a lot more behind construction logistics. I would think the neighbors are particularly concerned. I mean, they expressed this, they've been going on for a while. They're not sure what's going to happen next. They understand it, but I think I was looking for a much more detailed, particularly on your construction schedule, which seemed rather aggressive. So I don't know, is any of that detail gone out, or have you met with the neighbors or what?
Right. Thank you, Mr. Yevsky. We're asked to provide a construction schedule. So we did, to the best of our ability at this time with what we know and based on how this application is proceeding. Aggressive, yes, but that's all to say that it's to illustrate a timeline that is most aggressive for the benefit of the neighbors on what could be possible. As Mr. D'Andrea said, it comes down to the contractor, that we bring on and how they can manage the schedule. In terms of logistics, I will say that all of the vehicles, so to speak, that do need to do work on the site, like the excavators and their own vehicles as they travel to the site, are all expected to be located within those front gates or on site, and not within the property, or not within their town right of way. And once modulars are delivered, for example, typically that happens at 2 a.m. in the wee hours of the morning, where no one's in the street. So
have you actually met with neighbors face to face?
So we have met with 2 neighbors so far, and in our letter we have let them know that we are open to meeting, we are open to talking and emailing, and we have not had any of them reach out directly to us yet.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other members? Okay, shall we move on to public comment? Mr. LaRoe, we can, I guess, Ms. Engato.
Yes, ma'am. Engato will be the first. And if anyone else is interested in speaking, please raise your virtual hand. Ms. Engato, if you don't mind muting, or there you go. We can hear you if you could speak.
Thank you, Mr. LaRoe. Thank you, panel. Thank you for the time. I have been to 3 of these meetings about the Fong TPF proposal, and to date, none of our concerns about safety to our homes, to the water, to the environment have been addressed. They've all been dismissed. I've spoken with P&Z commissioners ad nauseum. They probably are sick of hearing from me. The fire department, the sewer department, the DPW. I've also communicated with DEEP, the EPA. No one seems to have a problem with the blasting and the water runoff and the safety issues that this development in its process of being built will cause. I have been assured by the P&Z and the developer that insurance will exist for potential damage. I see no assurance that we will have recourse to the town when this damage occurs, because it will. We are then left as a community to pay for legal fees to collect and then endure the disruption of our lives, the disruption of our rental incomes. There are a lot of rental situations in the neighborhood. We're going to displace people. I find you using the word shape instead of really the word, it's blast. I think I see everyone avoiding the word blast, which is the big concern for us. You are not shaping, you are blasting. On Oneida, where they blasted in January, they caused damage to our neighborhood, even though we were outside of the 250 feet area of concern. We are going to sustain damage. I also see on this P&Z agenda that a 2-car garage on Oneida is also asking for a P&Z approval. That means more blasting on Oneida. When does this neighborhood get a break? I have not seen assurances from anyone asking the developer about our needs and concerns until the very last minute here. And yes, they're greatly appreciated. Mr. Yevsky brought up some points that are very important to us. I want to ask Mr. DeAndrea, how many trucks do you think in a given day will be on this site while you're trying to build 18 homes? Where do you foresee a crane and 20 to 30 contractors and vendors parking? I've been through developments on this road. It's not feasible. They will be on the road. This road has no egress. It will choke off our road. Fong has communicated with us to answer Mr. Yesky's question, but only to dismiss our concerns. They are assuring us of nothing. They're talking only about a developer being insured, which means they're anticipating that we will sustain damage too. No logistics were discussed, and all those letters can be found on the record because I responded in kind to the Fongs and included it in the record to the P&Z. So it's in the file. Of note, Mr. DeAndrea said that there's something going on with an 18-feet road on Dublin Drive. People on Dublin Drive do not park on the road. People on Home Place park on the road. It's not an apples to apple comparison, and he probably knows that. The fire department won't weigh in on the blasting until this is passed. It's sort of like the horse out of the barn, and the proverbial barn door is blowing in the wind. Your commission seems hell-bent on waiving parking, driveway, location, parking spaces, water runoff issues, granting waivers for existing laws and guidelines, retaining walls, etc. The list just keeps going on. The DEEP has given a waiver on a small parcel of this land. I'm just flabbergasted and completely disappointed. I want this all on the record. I don't find any of it acceptable. The Fongs and the Angs have not met with the neighbors. They've sent out a stock letter, and while they were kind enough to spend time with me on the phone, there were no assurances, there were no guarantees. They didn't suggest an engineering firm they would be using to inspect our properties. I find it completely lacking. I want all this on the record. This is my 3rd time objecting, and I don't expect an answer from you guys. I just need it on the record. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, Ms. Angato. Do we have any other neighbors?
There are hands raised, Mr. McRae.
There are no hands. I don't see any.
Nope.
Okay. Okay, great. So I think actually there are a few outstanding issues. I think sewer division still has some issues on sewer flow, if that's correct, Mr. DeAndrea.
The sewer department has indicated that while they have inspected the existing lines and authorized capping, which has been done to my knowledge, they have indicated that they are looking at something in the main, and they'll get back to us as to what might be necessary. Sometimes that's a lining section, or it may prove not to be anything of concern. So we're waiting for those comments.
Okay, very good. Mr. Diaz or Mr. Eng, I think actually, for, just really hearing a lot of the commission's concerns, neighbors' concerns. I think rather than relying on a contractor who's not been nominated yet, is that maybe putting your heads together to actually develop a construction phasing plan that you would actually give to the contractor, understanding these conditions, the tight site conditions, the concerns of the neighbors, those kind of things.
I can do that.
Right. And I think actually doing that sooner than later may help alleviate some of the
Yes.
concerns of the neighbors to understand if it's going to be built first in, last out kind of situation. If that's the basis of it, then we can start with that. And then maybe the contractor can come in and actually really flesh it out as to how things would actually work, really put the schedules together, and get into some of the weeds in terms of actually construction, how the boxes are placed, how the trucks move in and out, when this is all going to happen. But I think actually having that framework now actually may help a long way between the neighbors, the commission itself understanding it, and teeing it up for the contractor when they come on. And I think actually understanding or looking at the comparability in terms of location. Can the units actually be more mixed in to the units as proposed across the site? That would be something I think appreciate, and I think the chairwoman probably would appreciate looking at that as well. Ms. Kolakowski, I'm not too sure if I'm missing anything on this. Other than I think maybe actually if we can speak to DPW about the wall.
Right. It sounded like you wanted staff to talk to.
I think it's understanding from maybe where our position is on that wall, that actually it's something that contributes to the street, and actually trying to understand if it's a true safety issue and they're worried about somebody plowing into that wall. I can understand that. If it's the stairs as they lead to nowhere, I'm sure the applicant would probably let's just get rid of the stairs, that way nobody's going to walk out onto Davis Avenue. But I think actually having that continued conversation would be great, because I think this really, as I said, is a contributing thing on Davis Avenue and on Home Place as well. So anybody else have anything, Mr. LaRoe?
Yeah, I just, and then this has nothing to do with the project at hand. It has to do with the comment from DPW. I mean, if it is the stair that is the encroachment of issue, I can understand that. I think, especially driving down Davis once again today, our sort of cultural heritage exists along some of these roads with these walls that have been here before the town, made the roads and we had zoning. I would be concerned, and I don't know if the commission feels the same way, but we're happy to have that conversation. If we're going to blanketly say that all impediments in the right of way need to be removed when applications come before us, regardless of the age or the neighborhood, I think we need to have a little bit more of a softer hammer, so to speak, here.
Got it. That's a great idea. Thank you for that.
The only other comment I would add is that we did receive the Aquarian Water Company will serve letter.
I should have mentioned.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? Yes, Mr. Yeski.
Conservation Commission. I did need to correct for the record that what the proposal is the removal of 27 trees, not 95 trees. We talked about that yesterday at the briefing. Conservation Commission does have comments regarding some plant substitutions as there are several ornamental non-native species in the current there was a revised landscape plan in that current version of the plan. And I think that's.
In that regard, Tracy,
Yes.
I think it's fair to say that we had no objection, no challenge to any comment in the staff report. Very thorough, very well done. We didn't think it was necessary for the record to say that we recognize, those changes that you just mentioned.
Okay.
Appreciate the summary, yes.
Yeah, I second
Mr.
your
Gasky?
thought about construction phasing. I think that's been a huge issue, given the road, given the history. Somehow I'd like to go even beyond that. For example, there's some things that the neighbor is bringing up that we know are highly detailed and regulated. Blasting, everyone's afraid of blasting. We've seen it all over town. There are very set procedures. I don't know whether she's seen this or not, but that should be part of that construction phasing. I think it's natural for someone to be concerned, and maybe we've had a bad experience, but we've seen it all over town. And, I've gone through with a bunch of projects in town where contractors are highly reviewed on this because it is a sensitive topic. So somehow I'd like to expand the conditions to include maybe a little bit more on what actually happens in blasting. And I'm not sure how to do that, but that's only one example of, if you've never gone through it or you had a bad experience somewhere, I think the town could go a long way in explaining why it kind of works. And you may be unsure of it, but we've seen it all over town. So I don't know how to handle that exactly, but I think that might help some of the neighbors understand that this is not a first time thing in Greenwich.
Yeah, to expand upon
Mr.
that,
Lowe?
I think explaining the process, and also if and when there's any kind of collateral damage, what is the procedure for the public to proceed with regard to registering a complaint? How that is it all just done privately? Is there some town involvement in that? And maybe Patrick, you could clarify that.
Yeah,
but I think it has to be clarified. I'm sorry, but yeah, it has to be clarified to the public, and particularly we're hearing people's concerns, and they're legitimate concerns, and they need to be addressed. Sorry, Patrick, go ahead.
No, please finish.
I'm done.
So blasting and excavating, that is a choice that the property owner is making. The town regulates it, and the various parts of the town regulate those activities for safety reasons. So it is a private insurance. It would be the property owner and the blaster that would have the liability and the responsibility to file if they were to blast, to follow the law. And that's the process. So when the blaster comes, my experience, and it's limited, would be that they do a pre-blast survey. They come, they videotape the premises in the houses next door. They give their information. Sometimes it's a business card, sometimes it's a website that they interact with, and then if there's any damages, they report that back to the insurer of the blaster. And that's how those things get addressed. So it is a party to party sort of agreement or situation, but the onus is on the blaster and the person who is proposing or doing the development.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
No,
Lowe.
sorry, I had
Mr.
that.
Lowe, do you have
Yep.
more? Okay, great. So, Mr. Eng, I think actually, as you're hearing, maybe it might be appropriate to reach out to some blasting companies and get an idea of that, understanding it's a significant concern. See what they have to offer, if they have suggestions, that kind of stuff, as part of this construction phasing plan.
We're gonna do the same thing with the contractor that's preliminarily, initially involved. And also, just like even the fire department, there's a flow chart on the blasting permitting process. Well, we can put together something to assuage some concerns.
Very good. Okay.
And
Mr.
picking up
Yeski?
on that, can we put it in as a condition that they need to take that? And there's a couple other issues mentioned and explain it in detail to the neighbors. I think there is an education necessary here. We're all talking about it at this point. So I'm a little confused how we can stick that in the condition and still go ahead and do something with it. But just a thought.
I would think actually that the applicant will be coming back. We'll continue this, and maybe that construction phasing plan, as they're going to develop it, can may actually be submitted to staff, so it can become public comment, public record for everybody to take a look at. And then even actually, if you've reached out to some of the neighbors, Mr. Yang, maybe you can actually forward it to them directly.
And I know there are detailed blasting and procedures. We've seen them. They need to explain that to the neighbors.
Yeah. Okay, great. Anything else?
Bruce.
Okay, so we'll what was that, Mr.?
No,
Mr.
I have
DeAndrea?
nothing more to say tonight. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay.
We've
Okay.
taken
Okay, great. So we'll keep this all open, and look forward to you returning, Mr. Yang and Mr. DeAndrea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's 7:03. We can either plow through the text amendment, or we can take a few minutes and come back and dispense with
Well,
that.
I would just
2 minutes.
ask, what's our anticipation of how long this amendment discussion is going to take?
Quick.
30
Yes.
seconds or less.
Well,
Don't we have some resolutions to approve?
Yeah.
And we have two.
Then I'll do that as fast as I can talk.
I'd rather have a dinner break, but it's up to the rest of you.
I'm normally very sympathetic with Mr. Wells's views on this. I'm going to depart tonight and say, let's get through this and power on. But
Okay, fine with me,
But I'm
Mr.
only one
Wells.
voice. So I don't-
Unanimous. We power on.
Power on. Okay. I
Okay.
surrender.
You gotta bring a protein drink,
greater
Mr. Wells.
wisdom.
That's what I do.
Sorry, Professor Wells. Sorry.
Okay, so our next application is actually planning and zoning staff for a zoning text amendment to section 6110. Staff, are you ready?
We are.
Yes.
I will let Tracy do the talking because she is much briefer than I am. So I will leave it to her.
Well, we did
Should we put the
discuss
clock
the
on?
details of the proposed text amendment to section 6110 at your March 31st meeting. Since that time, we have received the required WestCog comments that said that the text amendment does not have any intermunicipal issues and clarifies the regulations. So WestCog had no issue. And then today, I actually did hear from Deep, and Deep has no comments on the regulations.
Very good.
Those
Okay.
were the two main reasons we were left open.
I would just point out that Deep's required time had expired.
Long expired, yes.
So we were still in compliance, but it's good that they did get back to us.
Right. Yeah.
It's good that Deep got back. I mean, they're inundated, lack of a better way to say that.
Yes.
With coastal
And just so people,
applications.
just quickly, the reason Deep had to look at these regulations is because some of the business zones that allow 6110 projects are located in the coastal area, which was the reason I had that map prepared and actually sent that to Deep so that they understood the extent of that overlap.
Very good. Okay. Members, any thoughts, comments? Members of the public? I don't believe I see any.
No hands.
Okay, great. So shall we close this?
Yes.
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 Okay, very good. Item is closed. Okay, so where are we? Couple of decisions
We
to make?
let Mr. Basili go, please. Sorry.
Yeah, he can do whatever he wants.
And I was going to do that. All right. See
Free
you.
will, Mr.
Thank you.
Basili. Free will.
We do
All
let
right.
you still have it.
See you next time.
Thank
Bye bye.
you.
Okay, where are we here?
I think we got three, Nick, right? We've got
Yep, I'm just
Church
trying to get,
Road,
Four,
we've got
six,
Hill
eight.
House, and then Planning and Zoning.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're keeping Eggleston open, correct?
Yes.
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 East Weaver,
Yes.
We got an extension as well, so that'll be noted on the action agenda.
okay, so I guess it's Old Church Road first.
Yep.
Stuff together here. This would be 151 Old Church Road, final subdivision, PLPZ 2026-052. Applicant seeks to merge two parcels under common ownership into one unified lot of 3.383 acres in the RA1 zone. Commissioner finds that the proposed application is neither a subdivision nor a re-subdivision. Zoning issue comments dated 3/24/26, indicating a summary of the project. Conservation issue comments dated 4/22/26, indicating no comment on the lot consolidation. And DPW drainage issued comments dated 4/23/26, indicating the consolidation is acceptable. Therefore, motion to approve the consolidation with the following comments. The applicant shall prepare a lot consolidation map for recording on the Town of Greenwich land records, and the applicant shall address any and all outstanding staff or interdepartmental issues. Can I have a vote? For a second?
Second.
Mr. Yeski seconds. Mr. McRae says aye. Yeski?
Aye.
Wells?
Aye.
Jenkins?
Aye.
Mr. LaRoe, or Mr. Lowe?
Mr.
Another row.
Lowe, not Rowe, votes aye. Thank you.
Very good. So that passes. Moving on. Guess it's 10 Riverside Avenue.
Correct.
Okay, 10 Riverside Avenue, final coastal site plan special permit PLPZ 2026-059. Applicant is seeking approval to modify the southerly side of the access drive, reconfigure parking with the addition of 6 new parking spaces with associated drainage located on a 3.57 acre property in the RPHDE, COZ, and FHOZ zones per section 111 of the BZR and sections 22A to 90 to 22A 96 of the Connecticut General Statutes. The property is within the AE11 and X zones. Commission finds that zoning issue comments dated 3/24/26, no issues to the proposal. Beta issued a memo dated 3/25/26, indicating recommendations to the project. Conservation issued a memo dated 3/20/26, indicating comments to the proposal. Sewer Division issued comments dated 3/19/26, requesting the applicant submit a signed letter of acknowledging P&Z comments. DPW Engineering issued comments dated 4/23/26, indicating resubmittal prior to zoning permit. Greenwich Fire Department issued a memo dated 3/17/26 with no additional comments, and Wetlands issued a permit needs questionnaire dated 2/23/26, indicating no action required. Therefore, a motion to approve the application for final coastal site plan with the following conditions. I think, understanding we've the applicant has provided a landscape areas at each row. Sewer Division received the applicant letter dated 3/27/26. And I believe we're all on the same page that actually the angled parking is agreeable.
Yeah,
So
that's fine with me.
Okay.
I
Do I have a second?
Oh, sorry. I can
What was
get
the
a
comment about the landscaping? I'm sorry.
They were going to be providing landscaping at the ends of the
Okay, yep.
okay, specifically at the entrance off of Riverside Avenue. And at the far end where the I believe there's a little bit of landscaping area that might be able to.
So, Mr. LaRoe, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I'm happy to have a conversation with Beta as well, just to get.
I would, just as a courtesy. How about that?
Okay.
As a point of interest, yes, I'm reading the comments again, and I think I don't know if it was Mr. Lowe or another commission member bringing up the fact that it's the turnaround movement that I think is probably the movement that they're not thrilled about. But again, looking at the site, it makes there's not I don't know, the 90 degree doesn't make it better, so to speak. I think.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Let's go with it. But you should talk to them.
I will report back.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Lowe, second. Mr. McRae's aye.
Can I
Ms.
just quick?
Yes.
Yeah, just quick question. Where did we end up with the removal of the distressed trees? They withdrew that?
I believe they did, yes, because they're going to be adding, conservation had talked about the distressed trees, but they're going to be adding landscaping at both ends as a substitute for it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I was aye. Ms. Jenkins?
Aye.
Mr. Yagowski?
Aye.
Mr. Wells? And Mr. Lowe?
Aye. Aye.
Very good. Passed unanimously. Let's see. Was that it, I think?
610?
Excuse me?
The-
610?
The text amendment.
Oh,
I got to get
Oh.
something off the agenda tonight. I'm failing miserably.
Okay. Text amendment, section 6110, use regulations and special requirements for dwelling units permitted in business zones. PLPZ 202-2026-080. Memo will modify several provisions of section 6110, adding section-specific definitions, clarify the standards and application procedures for proposed developments, clarify the guidelines, requirements, and administration procedures for below-market rate dwellings to ensure that those are consistent with declarations of restrictions and affordability plans and recorded by project developers for approved developments with input from P&Z housing specialists and law department pursuant to section 622 of the town's building zone regulations and section 8-3 of the Connecticut General Statutes. Commission finds that zoning issue comments dated 3/24/26 indicating no issues with the amendment. Westcog issued comments dated 4/2/26 indicating that the proposed amendment is primarily of local concern and constitutes an effective clarification of existing regulations. DEP issued a memo dated 4/28/26 indicating no issues with the amendment. The proposed amendment is in keeping with general guiding principle number 2, specifically objective 2.1, 2.3, and 2.4 of the 2019 POCD. Therefore, motion to approve the text amendment. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Wells, a second. McRae is aye. Mr. Yeski?
Aye.
Mr. Wells?
Aye.
Ms. Jenkins?
Aye.
Mr. Lowe?
Aye.
Okay, so that is approved as well, and I believe we are done.
We got minutes to approve.
Oh, I can't do that. Ooh, wait a minute.
It's okay. We have 4 votes. Right?
Okay.
Yep.
But can I make that motion because they're my minutes?
It'd be probably better if another member made the
Okay,
motion.
I'll make it. I hereby propose approving the minutes of the planning and zoning meeting on March 31st, 2026. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Motion passes.